and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Which is based on a blog of the same name because once upon a time we lost some episodes, and then we found some episodes, including this one. And hey look, the joke is back. You might even call this a soft reboot. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, ! Hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and via Google Play to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including but not limited to How to Get Away with Murder, Sherlock, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., New Girl, A Series of Unfortunate Events, The Vampire Diaries, The Originals, Orange is the New Black, The X-Files, Supernatural, Gotham, and the DC Television Universe or Arrowverse on the CW. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for The 100, Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, American Horror Story, Fuller House, and the Marvel's Defenders panel will talk Season 2 of Jessica Jones. A final visit with our Broadchurch panel, I swear it's coming, to say goodbye to the mystery drama from across the pond. We'll be launching new panels covering Sense8, Grace and Frankie, The Good Place, and iZombie. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll be looking back at one of our most popularly requested panels of all time, Friends, as well as a one-and-gone series called Battle Creek. Furthermore, as I've said, you may have heard that CPU recently underwent some severe technical difficulties requiring the replacement of failed equipment, which means that several episodes, some I previously listed and others, like today's episode discussing Once Upon a Time Season 7A, are being re-recorded. Therefore, there will be a small delay in our usual publication schedule, but be patient with us. Everything will be published as planned. Keep a weathered eye to the website and our social media to keep track of which episodes we're releasing next. By the way, did you know that CPU also from time to time goes live? We've been live from the Bunker, a comedy outlet Mondays at Dog Story Theater and Grand Rapids Comic Con, and we're planning more live appearances and other cool stuff, so make sure you like us or follow us at our Facebook page, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, and or our Pinterest at CPU Podcast, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play. In the meantime, if you don't hear your show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we're always seeking new panelists. So if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback. No, that's it. We just like feedback. What, you were expecting me to say something here? Today we're around the water cooler and discussing the first half of Season 7 of Once Upon a Time, which currently airs September through May Fridays on ABC. The 7th season premiered on October 6, 2017. In this 7th season, the show has undergone a so-called soft reboot, and so therefore has this plot summary. Once Upon a Time is an American fantasy drama series that follows various fairy tale characters who were transported to the real world and robbed of their original memories by a powerful curse. The first 6 seasons were largely set in the fictitious seaside town of Storybrooke, Maine, with Emma Swan as the lead character, while the 7th takes place in a Seattle, Washington neighborhood called Hyperion Heights, with a new main narrative led by an adult Henry Mills, played by Andrew J. West. In the 7th season reboot, Henry, along with Regina, played by Lana Parrilla, Captain Hook, played by Colin O'Donoghue, and Rumpelstiltskin, played by Robert Carlyle, are found years later in the Seattle neighborhood of Hyperion Heights, where characters from a different realm are brought under a new curse. Hoping to restore her family's memories, Lucy, played by Allison Fernandez, must convince her parents, Henry and Cinderella, played by Dania Ramirez, of the true nature of Hyperion Heights, in the midst of emerging dangers involving Lady Tremaine, played by Gabrielle Anwar, and Mother Gothel, played by Emma Booth. Episodes usually have one segment that details the characters' past lives that, when serialized, add a piece to the puzzle about the characters and their connection to the events that preceded the curse and its consequences. The other, set in the present day, follows a similar pattern with a different outcome, but also offers similar insights. In February 2018, it was announced that the 7th season would serve as the final season of Once Upon a Time. Once again, our esteemed group of once panelists have returned to postulate upon the first half of what is now the final season of Once Upon a Time, which is season 7, though we should note that we have a bit of a different format this time, because this is one of our found lost episodes, if you will, which we are re-recording. We are missing one panelist, plus we're trying a brand new awesome all-online format. Thus, panelists Kristen, Amy, Emily, and Micah are currently on Google Hangouts, ready to talk once, and panelist Eddie, who could not make our recording date work in the end, will be recorded later and will offer some opinions by his solely lonesome. So if you've listened to our DCTU panel series, you know that there might be some hijinks afoot today with one of our panelists recording some solo afterthoughts. But for now, I think our panel is eager and raring to talk about the softly rebooted final season. And of course, before we do, I'm going to take a moment to take our panel's temperature because, as we all know, sometimes a TV show can take turns for the better or the worse in our heads, or could continue its lack of awesomeness or lack thereof depending upon its story evolution. As always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have viewed the entire show to date and may discuss sensitive plot points. So for those of you who are not caught up on Once Upon a Time, listen at your own risk, as there are going to be major spoilers. Welcome back, panel. How are you?
Great. Hi,
doing great.
How are you liking the Google Hangouts?
This is pretty cool. Fun. It's
working out so far.
Yeah.
If this works out, this may be a brand new day for CPU. So we'll get your reviews later. But for now, we're going to do our standard CPU character question, which changes with each show we do. And I should say, because we're finding this lost episode, you don't have to try to remember what you answered the last time. Just be organic, be real, be cool. Okay?
Okay.
All
right. So tell me now, after you've watched the first half of season 7, how you find the show nowadays in terms of your interest. Do you just love the story and all of its unpredictability and all of its characters, maybe the main character slightly more, like a good author or writer would? Also, you relate to most of the characters and stories. After all, you'll always have the heart of the truest believer. Or will you, like Henry? Do you love this show and its rebooted concept, even though you know that what you're watching isn't quite right, or even what you should be watching? You know, however, in your heart, that this show can be good again if the fans only believed like you did, like Lucy. Do you want it to be good because you want to be good? You believe all things should be given second, or third, or fourth chances, at least regarding your own potential redemption, like Wish Realm Hook, aka Detective Rogers. Do you like the show? You think the show solidly rebooted itself, especially with all of the changes, and you're prepared to fight for your second chance and show enjoyment without being bowled over by the parts that leave you feeling that you don't like yourself for watching it and loving it. Because if nothing else, you watch because you want to see appearances of the old characters you love again, especially Belle, like Rumple, aka Detective Weaver. Do you reluctantly like the show in its rebooted form? Some of the show's latest twists caught you by surprise, and so you're going to reluctantly keep watching, but you also see some massive flaws in some recycled storytelling, particularly when it comes to casting curses and protecting Henry, like Regina, aka Ronnie. Do you think watching the show in its rebooted form is a big risk, but you were either ready to dive into the deep end like Queen Tiana, aka Sabine, or had to be talked into it like Cinder, aka Ella, or Cinderella, or Jacinda, because first, all of your friends and family watch it and you want to keep talking about it with them, and second, the risk paid off and you're enjoying it in spite of yourself. You don't know what you're watching. You've convinced yourself to keep watching because you feel obligated by your podcast producer to do so, or because you really care about the fate of only one or two characters, and so you persevere for the sake of these characters, which are like family to you, like Victoria Belfry, aka Lady Tremaine, the Wicked Stepmother, aka spoiler, Rapunzel. Do you hate watch it or don't want to watch it anymore because you feel unloved, ultimately, especially by the show's creative team, like Ivy Belfry, aka Drizella, the Wicked Stepsister? Or do you hate it forevermore because you think it's evil, rehashed, and simply not as awesome as you, like Mother Gothel, a.k.a. Eloise Gardner? Now, I think it was Micah who wanted to start.
Yes, and I'm feeling, I don't remember what I said in the original timeline.
It doesn't
of this
matter.
podcast. I know,
this is
but
a parallel timeline, Micah.
I don't want to betray my other timeline self, but anyway. I think that I'm a combination of Hook and Henry. Because at this point, I mean, we only get, like, the three mainstays that stayed over from the reboot, but I mean, I really hope that Colin O'Donoghue and Lana Parrilla and, I always forget his name. He's just Rumpelstiltskin to me. But I hope that Robert Carlyle, yes. I hope that they all go on to do more things because I've really become attached to them in an actor-character standpoint from the rest of this show. But, yeah, no, I'm sad that now we know this will not be a breath of new life into the series, but I'm hoping it's going to be a nice final breath. That still came out sad. I'm sorry.
It's all right, Micah. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Hello, and in true Kristen form, I'm going to choose more than one. How many can I choose? Because I kind of like Lucy and the Rumple and the Regina. So I think I'm going to go with the three. I really, really like the show in the reboot, and knowing now that it's canceled, which was probably the plan all along, I'm really disappointed. I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought it was going to go, and I'm really sad it's over soon. But I love it, in spite of it being a soft reboot, because the reboot's working.
All right. Welcome back, Kristen.
Thanks.
Hi, it's Amy.
Hi,
and I'm
Amy.
excited to be back in true Amy form. I agree with Kristen on this. I think your sentiments are spot on, and that's exactly my response to it. I'm excited to see what the second half has to bring, and I was excited for the reboot. A little sad that it's going to end, but I hope it ends with a bang.
So are you picking the same three characters?
I am.
Which were who again?
Lucy, Rumple, and Regina.
Got
Yep.
it. All right. Welcome back, Amy.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Emily. I am going to follow suit with Amy and Kristen. I completely agree. I really, really liked the reboot. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I liked it, and now very sad that it's going to be ending. I was hoping that they would at least get 2 full seasons out of it, but alas, here we are at the end.
Well, so you're the same three characters too?
I am.
All right. Lucy, Henry, and Regina, right?
Lucy,
Yeah.
Rumple, and
Which is
Regina.
shocking, yeah, Rumple and Regina.
Lucy.
Which is shocking, because usually I throw a little Hook in there, but
It is
not this.
true. In fact, last time you were, let's see, Belle, Emma with a dash of Hook.
I always have to have a little Hook thrown in there, but not today.
That's okay. Break tradition. Welcome back, Emily. And of course, I'm Kylie. I've mentioned that in the introduction. And I've traditionally been Emma, but last time I was Rumple. And I don't remember what I said when we lost our episode, but I think that even despite the fact that it's canceled, and I know that it's canceled, I would still probably fall somewhere in the Regina category. I reluctantly like the show, but I also think it solidly rebooted itself, some of the changes, and there was things I like and things I didn't like Rumple. So I'm going to stick to 2, but I do agree that I think the soft reboot has injected some new life into the show, and I hope that now that they know that there is an end, this last half will wow us completely, and it'll go out with a bang, although they're going to have quite the... Well, to match what happened to end season 6, I think they're going to have quite the tall order, because I thought season 6 end was very, very strong. So we'll talk about that, though. For right now, again, remember that this is found, discovered. Tell us, what did you like, what didn't you like about this soft reboot? Hyperion Heights, the new characters. What did you like, what didn't you like?
There was a sense about it, thinking about having watched it, that felt nostalgic, and I was excited to revisit a similar storyline at first, and I was excited to see that it was taking a few different turns. The fact that it wasn't entirely predictable to me was great, There were characters, new characters I didn't really care for, but then there were new characters I really adored. Like, I loved Lucy. I thought she was adorable. The stepmother I was on the fence about, that kind of stuff.
Well, one of the main just base things that I liked was the environment of Hyperion Heights and just kind of how, while this is another dark curse that transports them to our world, it was different in that the way that Regina kind of wanted to keep everyone in their little terrarium that she'd built and, like, know with every waking moment that she was winning and she was, like, keeping them all under her power, which was opposed to their wishes in that world. In the Hyperion Heights version, we have a full integration with our world. There's no town line barrier that keeps them from mixing. There's nothing preventing the fairy tale characters from leaving, as we see with some of the other characters. And with that, Belfry, or at least in her perception of the curse, was kind of like she gets her victory by having them forget themselves, and in that way she kind of has an ultimate victory. So I liked that it wasn't quite as bottle episode in feel as the old system used to be.
I really liked, kind of piggybacking off of Micah, the twist of who actually cast the curse this time, because we're led to believe from the first episode that it's the wicked stepmother, that it's Victoria Belfry, when in reality it's actually her daughter Ivy/Drizella, spoiler, who cast the curse. I thought that was a refreshing way, even though the curse was repeated, it was a different type of caster, if that makes sense. Someone you wouldn't necessarily expect out of the gate.
Should be mentioned that Ivy is played by Adelaide Kane, who played Mary Queen of Scots on Reign, which is a show that I recommend if you like soapy royal history fiction things, which I do.
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off Kristen. I think that it was also really interesting, all of the twists that they did incorporate in here, as far as, like, the fact that Lady Tremaine, or the evil stepmother, ended up being Rapunzel. Spoiler. I thought all of that was really interesting, because you, like, have this idea and this image in your mind of this one person and how they're supposed to be, and then they just kind of, like, flipped it around and made a really cool backstory for a character like Lady Tremaine / the evil stepmother. I thought that was really interesting that they incorporated they made one character a few different characters in the Disney universe that we didn't all expect to be like that.
Well, and what was interesting, and I remember us kind of touching on this last time, was that they focused, this beginning of this season, focused a little bit more on the characters rather than having every few episodes introducing a new storyline or a new set of characters. I feel like they really kind of dove into these new characters and gave them a little more layers than maybe they've done in the past with new characters.
Yeah, there hasn't been those random character arcs thrown in, like the Frozen arc or Aladdin or what have you. It's been a half a season focused strictly on this one set of characters that they introduced from the beginning, and I thought that was really nice to have it be. It's not as confusing when you throw in all these random character arcs. I like that it's been very simple and very clean and very straightforward as far as who we're going to learn about this season.
Yeah, it's almost like a callback to season 1 of Once, where, you know, not only was it the original curse and, you know, the kid has to convince the parents, but like Emily said, we're just focusing on these characters right now. And after having so many half seasons of different storylines with other random characters, it is so nice to get back to basics in a sense and get back to the show we love, and maybe that's why I'm really liking this season too.
Yeah, I think that's what I was responding to as well when I say nostalgic, because I think we miss that element of really getting invested in and having a little bit of suspense and intrigue with a storyline. When it changes so often, you can't really do that.
But at the same time, it also added a little bit of a new spirit to that nostalgia by not necessarily... Because in the beginning, it was a completely new concept, and so we had to go through and we had to see, oh, this person was that character, and that's how they did it. But for this one, they knew that everybody who was watching already, like, got the basic concept, so they were like, all right, you already know what's going down with the curse and everything. We're going to make you wonder, how did we get from this flashback point, like maybe in the first episode, to where we are now? And I agree with Emily that since they focused so much on this particular set of circumstances, that they were able to really flesh out the details of the world and the backstories. They were very, very strong backstories this season.
For my opinion, I think that, and I know I kind of talked about this the last time, and I might be the negative Nelly in this group when it comes to this show a little bit at this point. But I did like the reboot. It was very engaging, but it did take me a minute to warm up to it, only because I felt like it was quite recycled, that they were doing curses again, and I had a lot of trouble connecting to the Cinderella character. I know I talked about this a lot last time, that I find her acting really distracting. That rhymed. She always looks like she's caught in headlights when she's talking, which is not very pleasant of me to say, but at the same time, a lot of the story focused on her. However, at the same time, I agree, especially with the idea about the twist around Lady Tremaine and / Rapunzel, Mother Gothel, that half of the story. Even though we're getting into witches and curses and all of that business again, there's definitely a new spin on this, and those twists did catch me by surprise. Like, I was not expecting to learn what we learned when we learned them, and that kept it interesting to me. And in some ways, I think this half of this season was better than the first half of the 6th season. And, of course, it's always better than Frozen. If you want to get our Frozen quota in right now and get it out of the way, or do you want to save it?
I don't know. I feel like peppering the insults to Frozen throughout the podcast kind of keeps us all on the same track. It's a team building experience.
Team building. Got it. So what else did you like or not like?
Well, we did mention the somewhat spoiler. Well, it's not. I think they covered it pretty quickly. But the fact that Detective Rogers is Hook, but he's not the Hook we know. He's the Captain Jack-esque Hook that we got to meet during the Wish Realm arc of Season 6. And first of all, I think that was a really inspired choice. It saves us the whole thing of having to figure out why Hook would ever leave Emma's side, which, of course, he wouldn't. But this Hook, they really actually did quite a lot with, because they had him first establish that, it's that Hook that we saw in that thing, and then they had him steal the form of young Hook, which, just as a nerd, I'm wondering, was that only, superficial, or is his body now rejuvenated as well? Who knows? There was a lot of blood magic going on this half season, and then we also had the extra dash of intrigue in that he has a daughter that we have not met and didn't meet for a little bit. Although some of you had predicted, once you met Alice, spoilers. I don't know why we're saying spoilers, they know. But no, once you, some of you have figured out, as soon as you saw the relationship. Well, it's all on Netflix.
Listen to the intro. Mm-hmm. Your intro, you warned them.
You did.
Extra. Anyway, go continue.
But yeah, no, I liked that it wasn't just we're keeping the handsome pirate on because he's the handsome pirate and everybody loves the handsome pirate. Sure we do, but he also had actually a very touching and a very deep backstory and reason for being part of this new story, and kind of part of we got a kind of a new ensemble with Henry and Wish Realm Hook and all these other characters, which we will talk about shortly.
I really also like the Wish Realm Hook piece of it. And I really did wonder, obviously Jennifer Morrison, as part of her departure, agreed to come back and do one episode, and she did, and Emma Swan appeared and found her grown-up son, who, by the way, is handsome. I like him. But Henry and his looking for his new adventure, his own story, it was good to see her and to kind of tie that bow. And I agree, Mike, I'm really glad that they decided to mine this other world that they created with the Wish Realm Hook, who might actually be, just as generally speaking, more interesting version of Hook anyway, despite having Alice and despite having all of these other facets to him. Silence. Everybody agrees.
I agree.
Yeah.
I also enjoy Rumpel's new twist on life. What did you think about Rumpel?
Yeah, I think he's definitely... I like him. I'm trying to remember if we know... No, we do know that he's awake, but nobody else knows that he's awake. Or is he... Oh, that was the question, is he awake?
And when?
Because Lady Tremaine was saying that he is, but he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So is he really awake in this realm or not?
He's awake. He has to be.
I think that's a very interesting plot point because it's always been so straightforward in the past. Like, this person's awake, and so he's going to cause a lot of trouble and be a bad guy. But I like that there's kind of that little bit of mystery in there still. It's also interesting to not have him being so cruel and so mean and so, like, evil, if you will. So I think that definitely is a pleasant change from the past because it's like he's either always bad or always good. I like that there's kind of this in-between going on right now.
Yeah, the tough part with Detective Weaver, yeah, he's also a detective,
Yeah.
is that since he's so aloof, like, I think it was what we were having trouble pinpointing was when specifically, like, if he was awake the whole time, and if not, did he wake up when he saw the teacup, when he was shot by Alice, which was apparently her instructions were, if the teacup did not work, then to shoot him, which would, I guess, maybe just the trauma of that would maybe shake him awake. So yeah, like, they didn't give us any, like, little camera moments where he gave us a look where we knew that he was awake, because he's always just such a cool customer. But I do definitely enjoy Detective Weaver's persona a little bit more than Mr. Gold. Mr. Gold was always a little too in control of things, and I think it's a little fun to see Rumpel or Detective Weaver, just this being who has this very, very sharp mind. So even if he's not in control of a situation, watching him react to it and, like, base his plans off of it has been fascinating. Because as we saw, there were some things that he definitely didn't expect Belfry to throw his way, but that he, like, adapted to and reacted to very quickly. I think it's a good Rumpel that we've got this time around.
What's everyone's consensus of opinion? Do you think he was awake the whole time, or do you think he got woke? Haha.
I think he was woken.
I think he woke up too. I actually don't think he was awake the whole time. I think he woke up, which would be different than the curse's past. And I like the fact that he wasn't awake the whole time, or that we didn't think he was awake the whole time.
What about Regina's new role as Ronnie the Bar? Eddie's not here to wax poetic about Regina, but what did you all think of her?
I love the new Regina. I think she's so cool, and she's very, like, strong, independent woman that don't need no man. And I love it because it was getting kind of old, like how sad she was about Robin. And, like, I get it. And I was very sad when Robin died, but, like, it got to a point where she was just getting, like, kind of whiny, and it was overplayed and just happening all the time. And so I'm really liking that she's very, like, strong and independent. And I also like when she woke up. I thought that was a cool thing to have her be one of the few people awake, at least that we know of. So I thought that was cool as well, to have her being the one. And then we also found out at the end of the first half of the season that she was the one that, while it was Ivy's idea to cast the curse, she was the one that actually did it.
Well, I like to mind her closet. I think she's got a great set of clothes, and I like that fashion sense, and it's much better than the pencil skirts and blazers of the mayor. So that's just my opinion.
No, I agree with you, and I also think, say from an actor standpoint, that must have been really fun for her to breathe some new life into that character / a slightly different version of the same character. Well, kind of the same character she's been playing, because she's asleep. So I thought it was really exciting, and I love the character of Ronnie. I like her a lot.
I do as well, and I also like it was mostly the actor who was deciding to stay on, and it's contractual stuff, but that's not as fun, so I'm going to make it part of the story that
I think she wanted to stay.
Mm-hmm. Like, it was important because honestly, people will say, oh, Emma was the main character, or they were bringing in Henry, but I think the the protagonist of the first 6 seasons was Regina. The Evil Queen is the original Disney villain, and so through doing this whole process of the show, the main arc that has been overarching all of it was the Evil Queen's road from having this enemy that she hated for not really a great reason, who wasn't even trying to be her enemy in that way, to then being part of that person's family, being part of Snow White's family, and being someone who fights for good, which is, they took the time that I think was needed for that. I don't think any of that change of heart was contrived. I think they earned every bit of it. But now, it's kind of like if you go through a lot in a certain friend group, or just like your social group in a certain city, you sometimes feel like, can you really move on from there? And I wonder if after all the Robin stuff and everything, Regina couldn't really, she already knew everyone from Storybrooke. They'd already gone through so much together. It's kind of hard to start a new chapter when you have only the same old sentences to use. So I like that Ronnie, even apart from being a different persona, she is also kind of Regina going out, striking out, finding a new home, a new place to set up base, and having a lot of new possibilities of what she can do to find her happy ending, which was one of the main plot points that they kind of went through with the last season, was everybody's got to get their happy ending. And I think maybe the reason why she hadn't found it in the last couple seasons is because she couldn't do it there. Eddie's not here, so I had to do a double helping for both.
You did! You did an admirable job!
Thank you.
No one has any thoughts about Regina either? You're going to let Micah have this show?
Well, I agree with everything he said.
I mean, I'll take it.
I don't know what else I can add to that. I like the refreshing take on the character, but I like that we still have some of that classic Regina now that she is awake. We kind of get that from her, but I there's nothing else to add.
I already commented. So.
Well,
he was just better at it than me, so.
But also just the whole persona, like you said, the pencil skirt thing, the Regina Mills, the mayor, that was always kind of a pretty straight-laced alter ego for her. I think that Ronnie, the badass bar owner, is much more if you turned a villain into a good guy, they would be somebody that's a little more edgy like that. Instead of, I don't know, you would expect a hero to be someone that would be a mayor, like Snow White, who became mayor in the old version. But yeah, no, I definitely think this personality works better with who Regina is as a person.
Well, and going off the classic feel of Regina, we also do end up seeing I believe she's Wish Realm Regina. We kind of talked around this the last time because nobody was really sure, because it's Wish Realm Regina that points Wish Realm Hook toward Rapunzel's tower, and then Hook encounters Rapunzel, but Rapunzel is really Mother Gothel in disguise, and then they have a little liaison, and the very next day she has a baby. And the baby is the heretofore mentioned Alice.
See, when you say it like that in one sentence, it just sounds silly.
It does sound really silly.
I mean...
I would say that was probably one of the weirder things to happen. I don't know exactly where they're going to end up going with this whole Hook and Alice thing yet, because it hasn't really been made clear as to where they're leading with that whole storyline. But it definitely was very odd, and I was kind of taken aback by it and thinking, what's going on? Why is this a thing right now?
Well, and Alice doesn't even know what's going on because there's something screwy with her going on, which I think is Gothel motivated. We just don't know how it really settles in for her, so she wakes up every now and again.
Yeah, I also really want to know who Alice is, because didn't we already meet Alice back in season 2 when they did the spin-off of Wonderland?
Yes, Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, which I absolutely loved.
Same.
I couldn't get into it.
No. I didn't.
No.
Whoa, split decision.
Emily, you didn't love it?
No.
Okay, girl. Then we're together on that because I could not get into it.
I watched the first episode and gave up.
Oh no,
I think I got through 2 and I was like, they're trying too hard. But that was also when Once Upon a Time was still really fresh as well. So I feel like now maybe I think differently now.
You should go back and watch it. I really wish that they would have stuck to their original plan and run it while Once was on this mid-season break, because I think it would have really added to the story and not, I think running it concurrent with that season of Once at the time was too much. But it's a really cool little, like, packaged up anthology series, and I think now you guys would really appreciate it a lot more. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. I agree that it took a few minutes to get into, so I understand why Amy and Emily might have bailed on it early. But if you persevere, it does get better, and it is an interesting new take. Now, to Micah's question, saying, did we meet Alice before? Yes, we did. But we also met Cinderella before, and Cinderella's back, and that's one of my major complaints on this half season. I still don't think, I said this before, but I still don't think that the producers did enough to explain why it is we're watching another version of the same character. And that kind of bugs me a little bit. I mean, I know that it's a new neighborhood, and it's a new curse, and there are new twists on the new curse, and there are new people who cast the curse, but that still doesn't explain why Cinderella is another Cinderella here, other than the producers kind of meta comment that, well, there's different versions of the same story. Okay, but we're watching the same show.
Yeah, I want to know about Alice because of that comment from the producers that, hey, this is Cinderella, and Cinderella is different in different cultures. Like, I understand that, but like Kylie just said, we're still watching the same show. If we were watching a different show, then sure, fine. I'd totally be 100% behind it. But I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Alice, because it's been so vague so far.
And I just don't think there's a different enough culture between Seattle and Maine. Okay.
That's fair.
I struggle with the Cinderella piece of it generally, though. Honestly, she's my least favorite, and that's so mean. I'm sure she's a wonderful person. I know she's been on other things, but I cannot watch. I have a really hard time watching her. I really like Sabine. I like Tiana. I'm glad they included
I do
her.
too.
Absolutely.
She's really awesome. I loved the whole episode where she was making the beignets and trying to start her pop-up shop and all that. That was really fun. Princess and the Frog kind of incorporation piece. And we got Dr. Facilier as well. He made an appearance.
This was one character that they absolutely could have had come from our world, because the story is set in Louisiana, but they moved that to this section of the... That's the other thing. Like, if this had all happened in another realm, I can get different Cinderella, different realm. But this is just another section of the Enchanted Forest's extended forest that we hadn't seen, which I guess was their way of explaining away how all these different stories can run concurrently. But, yeah, no, jumping back to the...
Not satisfactory.
Yeah, it's not satisfactory.
No,
but speaking of satisfactory, I hope that this second half of the season has more Dr. Facilier in there and has more of Tiana's backstory, because it was kind of wrapped up really quickly, but I kind of have faith in them, because linking this to the Rapunzel thing, we first saw Rapunzel when she was being impersonated by Mother Gothel, and then she did time baby magic, which we've seen time and time again, very strange magic to keep including, and then she was gone, and I was like, really, that's all we're gonna get for Rapunzel? Tangled was a big hit, but that's it. But they did then go back and flesh out her story. So I'm hoping we get the same thing with Sabine, and maybe see Dr. Facilier on this side of the curse as well.
Well, and we know, I don't know if you remember that Dr. Facilier, I mean, he's now bound to this realm. Like, that's what that whole episode with Tiana's father's medal was about, that he was trying to get that because it was essentially a magical anchor for him, because he had half his self in the realm, which who knows what that realm is, and half of himself here, and then he anchored himself. So I expect to see more of him. I don't think they necessarily wrapped up Tiana's piece at all. But on the subject of the Enchanted Forest being so big that multiple versions of the same character can exist, I just find that to be really, really weak. I'm hoping that the piece with, and we'll spend some time talking about the end of the half season, but the bits about this coven of 8 witches that Mother Gothel is somehow a member of and tries to recruit Ivy into. I don't know if they have some responsibility, maybe, for what's going on beyond just the fact that there are new versions of the characters, but I'm hoping that they connect all of it. I don't necessarily trust that they will, but I'm hoping that they do.
Yeah, I have another comment about the Enchanted Forest thing. I feel like they're rewriting their own mythology, because supposedly this whole thing, like, Regina cursed the Enchanted Forest. They never said a section of it. They said the Enchanted Forest as a whole.
Yep.
And the fact that they're kind of rewriting it like, oh no, now there's like extended Enchanted Forest. It just seems like the cheap way out, really easy way out. Like, why not just say Henry traveled to another dimension or something? Like, I would believe that a lot more than more Enchanted Forest.
Didn't the curse largely destroy the Enchanted Forest too? Or did they fix that somewhere along the way and I'm just forgetting?
I don't remember it being destroyed. I assumed it was just something that they never really went into what happened to that section of the region once the curse set in, because we did see a little bit of the extended forest when we would see Princess Aurora, Prince Philip, and Mulan's little drama that they had, which takes place in a section of the forest. Apparently there's some kind of boundary on how large of an area it can affect, but also we didn't really get to see, like, did it like somehow section off that area so that, like, Mulan and them would never have been able to go there? Did it only take the people so that all of their properties would just be, like, laying fallow during that? That's, I hadn't thought about that before, but that's kind of like a bugging question from way back in the day.
Well, it's because it's been so long. Little refresher: the original curse did not destroy that part, apparently, of the Enchanted Forest, because we did go back. They went back to see the castle. Like, Emma was in her nursery at one point, so it kind of, I don't really want to say it destroyed, but it was almost like a tornado had gone through. So everything was still there, but it was mostly the people that were taken. And with Aurora and Mulan, like, their little pocket of the forest, they did go into detail how they survived on their own. They set up a little boundary or something so their pocket wouldn't be affected. But they're still within the Enchanted Forest as a whole that was supposed to have been taken away by Regina's curse.
And that's what I remember, but I think that the effect of the curse was more devastating. So maybe the Enchanted Forest itself existed, but there was a lot of devastation around their pocket. And that's specifically what I remember. That's season 2 that I think we're talking about. And so I know that we've flashed back to the Enchanted Forest. I know that at some point, and this was after season 3 or 4, our group of Storybrooke characters landed in the Enchanted Forest and then immediately landed back, and we had that awkward season. But it still doesn't make sense to me, how big is the Enchanted Forest really, especially when there's the capacity and ability to make new realms like they did with the Wish Realm. And then why in this giganimous retcon Enchanted Forest there are duplicate characters? I mean, it makes me wonder, is there another Snow White? Is there another Sleeping Beauty whose name is Aurora? Is there another random person that name anyone you want? And I think that that's just a really weird device that they used. I don't think they needed to make Cinderella the princess, although I know, Kristen, you said before that she was the second princess movie, so therefore she's the second princess to have the main vantage point in this show. I get that, but it's really hard when you've been watching this long and you're keeping track of those details and the writers aren't explaining it enough.
Yeah, I'm sure if they wouldn't have gotten canceled at the end of the season, I'm sure they would go on to show us, maybe not Snow White necessarily, but some of the other characters like Sleeping Beauty that we didn't get to explore a ton. We probably would have had an alternate version of them too. Mm-hmm. I could see them staying away from Snow White in this, non-existent future just because she was such a big focus of the original 6 seasons.
Sure.
But that was probably a plan for down the line if they would have gotten renewed, but we'll never know at this point. So maybe those will be questions that they will have time to fit in and answer, since they haven't finished filming the current season yet. So they have time to wrap all these things up.
They better work. They better answer them.
For my satisfaction, I think the only way that the way that they've described these alternate versions of the characters that you've already seen would work is if maybe the first part, like if they hadn't focused so heavily on that Snow White and we kind of saw snapshots of like, oh, this Snow White went like this and this one went like that. So maybe if it was more of an author-based story as far as like him trying to figure out why does the Cinderella story, quote unquote, why does that recur? Why do some of these things recur? But that would require so many seasons, and I just don't think they could have done it.
They don't have the time, and he's got to contend with the curse of daughter Lucy, which we've barely talked about. Amy said she was adorable, and that was about it. What do you think about Lucy?
I do like Lucy a lot. She's really cute, and she's very precocious. And I think she's a better version of young Henry, because young Henry got kind of whiny and annoying sometimes. But I love Lucy because she's like, I'm going to do this, and like, you guys are wrong, and I'm going to stand up for myself. Whereas young Henry just kind of like whined and complained a lot.
Hashtag I love Lucy.
Micah, I love it. I was thinking the same thing. Hashtag I love Lucy as well. For all the same reasons, I think she's a strong young girl, like young female character, which is really smart to have. And I just liked her. And part of me, on a personal level, she reminded me a little bit of my niece, who's also precocious and has long brown hair and is adorable. But I enjoyed that character very much, and I kind of wish they had, and I'm hoping that they feature her a little bit more. Like, I want more.
Oh, I think she will. She's under a curse.
Yep. Poor Lucy.
Yeah, we kind of are. The episode for the second half of the season, that start, has been out for a few days, and I just have been waiting for us to do this so that I'm not influenced by the future. But
same.
I am curious because we've kind of had a shift as far as like, oh, the young person we're dealing with mostly is Lucy, and she's driving a lot of the story points. Now we've had a like almost literal tag out between her and the lost sleeping daughter Anastasia, who she's now has a tremendous amount of magical ability, and now she is going to be in the spotlight. So it kind of gives me the same feeling jumping shows between Stranger Things season 1 and 2, where we had because we didn't have Will. He was gone for most of the season, but then for season 2 he came back, and I was curious about that actor. It's like, all right, is he going to be able to jump in and join the ensemble that has already been so strongly established? Thankfully for that actor, Noah, I forget his last name, he did great, and I'm hoping that even in the absence of Lucy being there, that Anastasia will give us some, be an interesting child character instead of, because I know she has a lot that she needs to catch up on, but I'm hoping she doesn't become damsel-y, and hoping that she will keep things exciting. Since she was she was literally sleeping on the first half of the season, and we didn't get to see her do anything. And she was also, they've kind of hyped her up a little bit as far as being she was like the MacGuffin. She was the thing that was driving Belfry to do all the things that she did, was to reawaken the daughter Anastasia. Now we've got that. Hope that means something. Hope that pays off. Anastasia was so hyped up as like this kind of goal for the first half of the season, at least for Belfry, and she was kind of like something that a lot of people wanted control of as like a bargaining chip. I'm hoping that since we've kind of lost Lucy as well, we'll see for how long, but we've kind of lost her youthful presence, I'm hoping that Anastasia will be a new and interesting character to add to the mix, rather than, I feel like the way her character is set up, she has a propensity to be kind of damsel in distressy as far as like, who do I trust? I have all this magic. What do I do? I'd like to see I'd like them to surprise me with whatever her personality is, and maybe even surprise her mother and her sister as well. And who knows, maybe she will step into this villain role and just run with it and surprise Gothel even. But I'm hoping that whatever it is, it's something not super predictable.
Just to kind of set up what Mike is talking about, because this is kind of the core twistiness of the story. We find out that obviously Lady Tremaine is Rapunzel. She has 2 young daughters, Ivy and Anastasia. From what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm getting this wrong, there's a couple things that happen, but I can't remember exactly why. I know that Anastasia is out on the ice. Before that, I remember. Because Rapunzel gets locked in the tower, her husband with the girls, is it her husband? Yes.
Yeah.
Marries Cinderella's mother. So that Cinderella's mother becomes the girl's stepmother. And
Cecilia.
Then, yes, Cecilia. And then Rapunzel escapes from the tower and comes back to her family and finds that though Anastasia has missed her mother, Ivy seems to take to stepmother a little bit more naturally. So she starts to have more of a stronger affinity for Anastasia there. And then she also, because Cinderella's mother has this curse placed on her where she can't be touched, right? Wasn't that part of it?
Yeah.
Something like that. And we know she was in Wonderland and she fought the Jabberwocky because Alice tells us this at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as far as I remember, once she came back and found them living as a happy family, they tried to kind of incorporate her back into the girls' lives, and that worked with Anastasia. And even Ella, as far as I remember, like even her and Cecilia were both pretty warm to Rapunzel, warmer than you would expect in that situation. But Drusilla was the one who was kind of like, I don't want my old mom, I like my new mom. So that kind of drove Rapunzel to use that mushroom curse and force Cecilia to leave the picture in order to survive. And so Rapunzel was able to swoop back in, but Drusilla to her. And so then we got to the point where, as you were mentioning, the girls were just out on the ice playing. The ice broke, and both Ella and Anastasia fell in. And was his name Marco?
Marcus?
Marcus.
Yeah, I think it was
Marcus.
Marcus.
He dove out into the water to save one of them, but he could only save one, and he pulled up Ella, and that kind of like solidified the transition from Rapunzel to the Victoria Belfry Lady Tremaine character that we know, and she was able to, with Mother Gothel's help, preserve the final breath in Anastasia's body, and thus keep her kind of in this sleeping stasis where she was, as I mentioned, she became kind of, pretty much she was an object for most of the season until the end there.
Didn't Rapunzel pickpocket that piece of magic that allowed her to preserve the last breath? Wasn't that moment?
She pickpocketed those seeds that trap people in the tower. I think she had Mother Gothel use the magic to free the breath in exchange for something, but then she used those seeds to welch out of her end of that deal.
Got it.
And trapped Gothel in the tower, where she would then later be found by Wish Realm Hook, because man, is this timeline fun.
Yes. Not to mention the fact that, like you said, Tremaine in her transformation, all she cares about is preserving and saving and resurrecting, if you will, Anastasia, and does everything she can not only to distance herself from Drusilla, who becomes Ivy, who then gets in league with Mother Gothel because her mother basically shows such disdain for her, but also Tremaine mistreats Ella and constantly interferes in Ella's life, including by making sure that she can never have Lucy. She takes Lucy away from her. So this is a complicatedly interwoven path, which is important because then it gets even more complicatedly interwoven as we learn about the curse, which Ivy cast, but Gothel manipulated. Accurate?
Yeah, the Circle of Eight.
Yeah, the Circle of Eight. So let's talk about the Circle of Eight. What do we think about it?
Well, I know we had some contention over whether or not we thought there was a real full Circle of Eight, or if that was just a front that Mother Gothel used, maybe kind of as an intimidation factor. But the thing that messes that up for me was the criminal agent that I believe it was Detective Rogers, he stumbled upon and found that man who had the tattoo for the Circle of Eight. So I'm wondering how deep their lore goes in the Enchanted Forest, if they are an organization or a shadow organization that's kind of been around for a while and has these different acolytes, and if it wasn't just that one guy, and how they got into, like, they were taken with the curse, and so now she has allies, but none of the actual witches. Yeah, we don't really know if they're fake or if she needs to go and wake them up, because they've also been affected by the curse and don't know that they are the witches. but she also recruited Anastasia into it, so there obviously was some open spaces. So yeah, a lot of... It was definitely after everything we'd been through and all of the questions we'd had that they then answered. They were like, now for more questions, and they threw that at us as well.
I want to know about the Circle of Eight. That's the most intriguing mystery to me at this point. Who are they? Are they real? I can't imagine in my head that Gothel is really that powerful. She seems to be powerful, but why would she then have such ambition for even more power? I don't know where... I don't know. And now we haven't talked about the fact that Regina found Zelina again in San Francisco as the owner of a Soul Cycle shop and a hippie.
So excited.
I'm totally excited by that. Yeah.
I love Zelina, and I love that she's engaged, and, like, she's moved past the whole Robin thing, at least in this realm, which is really cool. Yeah, I love it. I love Zelina.
I love her in this form, and I had to warm up to her as the Wicked Witch, but I like her, and I can't wait to see what the second half has for this new Zelina.
I want to know who she's engaged to, number one.
Yeah, same.
Two, I want to know and this was one of the questions I had, Regina and Zelina, well, particularly Regina, is manipulated. First of all, she teaches Ivy how to use magic to begin with. So Ivy's trying to use magic. Oh yes, this was one of my major questions. Where did all these people get their damn magic? So Ivy somehow has this magic unexplained. Maybe she's just born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know. But then she has the magic, and they're manipulated into casting the curse. Regina does cast the final curse, which essentially taps... It's a curse where either Henry, who has the heart of the truest believer, either he will die because Regina actually cast this curse to save him, or the alternative is Lucy dies because the curse is somehow tied to her. Who remembers this?
I do.
Okay, go for it.
You kind of covered it.
Oh.
I mean, really. That's how... I mean, you did. I mean, that's how Ivy got Regina to cast the curse in the first place. It's either she casts the curse, which she doesn't want to do, or Regina doesn't cast the curse, and it's either her granddaughter's life or her son's life that's in danger.
Hashtag potential drink.
Hashtag potential drink!
We haven't had one of those yet. That's amazing.
We haven't.
Usually Eddie brings those up, those potential drinks, to be fair. And Eddie, if you're listening to this part of the podcast, we do miss you.
We do.
Miss you.
It's not the same.
He will... It's not the same. But he will definitely add his 2 cents. And there will be hijinks. But I want to make sure that we cover all the parts. So what do you all think about the Circle of Eight and this whole piece? Who do you think they are and what they are?
I don't think they exist yet. I think Mother Gothel is slowly trying to get her Circle of Eight. So it would be her and Ivy / Drizella and Regina. And then I'm guessing Zelina would also come into play here. And then they would just need to get the other few.
Yeah, I think I agree. We'll eventually talk about this in the next podcast, but I already watched the first episode of this half of it, and I would agree that that's probably what's going on. Not that, like, this is a spoiler or anything for the first episode of this part of the season, but after watching this first episode 11, Secret Garden, I think that might be what's happening.
Did they sing something about I heard someone's crying?
I wish. That would have been nice. Musical theater reference.
Hashtag musical theater.
I feel like, well, I don't know at what point in their production, because we obviously had the announcement that the show wasn't getting renewed, but generally people working on the show will know about those kind of decisions much before the public does, hopefully if there's good communication within the organization. But I'm wondering if the Circle of Eight was an idea that they started when they thought they might have more time, and will they be able to finish it in the time that they have left, which is not a lot.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think, practically speaking, these producers might have been seeding another season, but in reality have to have expected that cancellation was a strong possibility. I mean, we were suspecting it with the move to Friday nights, with the fact that this network runner, and by the way, There is a lot of... I've been on comment forums about ABC shows. There's a lot of disgruntlement at this network runner. There's even a hashtag, but I can't remember what it is. I think it's something like Fire Channing or something. But I gotta believe that they wouldn't seed something such a... Even these writers, and they can be unpredictable, but I have to believe they wouldn't have started such a major plot point in the cliffhanger moment without having some kind of short-term plan to wrap it up for this season, just because of where things have been going so far. But I don't know what it is. Like, I have no theories. I don't know who would fill out the other 8. I know we talked last time at length about what if one of them is Maleficent, because where is Maleficent? Where is Will Scarlet? Where?
Never to be seen again. Will Scarlet was cute, so that's really sad.
It is sad, I know.
I know, Micah, you posited that you thought the Once Upon a Time in Wonderland was the end of his story, and that he was actually in the main show before his time, and his happy ending was with the Queen of Hearts on the Wonderland spinoff. But
that was my best theory, just because, I mean, it also might just have been shoddy continuum writing that... Like, because there's no way that he would, like, because the Red Queen was his, like, one true love, that she was his happy ending, so I don't really think that there's a great way for him to have been able to transition from that ending in whatever way to becoming the still happy-go-lucky and light character that we saw in Storybrooke. I feel like it's more plausible that he kind of maybe jumped realms in order to get away from all the drama that he left behind, and like the woman that he loved becoming an evil sorceress, and then later went back after the whole dating Belle and all that weird stuff, gone back after that and then resolved the story. I mean, as we've seen, timelines are flexible as far as like data presented to us and then when it actually took place canonically. So, I mean, I hope so, because by the end of the little mini-series, I did like him and his Red Queen together. They kind of sewed that up nicely. But
yeah, because she was Anastasia too. So that's another character that we... She was Anastasia, as in like our Ashley Cinderella from the original ones. That was one of her stepsisters, and she was set up because she went through the portal to Wonderland and became the Red Queen, a.k.a. Queen of Hearts.
Oh my gosh, now I'm even madder about this, and they better explain it, because you're right.
Yup.
And neither of those Anastasias was the Anastasia of animated film fame, which is now a Disney property.
But it wasn't back then.
I know, but I'm just saying, they've retconned before.
Well, okay, but also that Anastasia is based off of a real person. These Anastasias are based off of a fictional character.
True.
You know, just for the record.
But still... Will Scarlet evaporated. Where's Will Scarlet? Maleficent?
Yeah.
She went off. I guess she's a dragon. Maybe she's not a dragon. Where did she go? Where did Lily go?
They're looking for Lily's dad.
Maybe Lily's one of the Circle of
Who is
Eight.
Lily's dad?
I thought he was the dragon dude from the Mirror Place.
No.
I think there was...
We still don't know anything about Lily.
Nope.
Maybe that was just a theory. Maybe Lily's one of the Circle of Eight.
That'd be really cool. I would love for them to tie up that loose string before the show ends. I really, really hope that they do. I have a very sneaking suspicion. Hashtag
I was going to say, remember we always say that hashtag potential and then nothing ever happens with it? I think this is definitely one of those cases where hashtag potential, they will close up and tie up that loose end, but they won't.
Mm-hmm.
Sigh, I say. Sigh. Jeez. I want to make mention of the beauty episode. I talked about this the last time just because I think it was my favorite episode of the half season. This is the one where we got to see Rumple and Belle live out their lives at the edge of realms, where time basically stands still. You may also call it Narnia if you wish, because that's what it reminded me of. And we got to see adult Gideon, but we also saw Rumple's motivation on the season because he's trying to break the Dark One curse so that he can join Belle, who essentially died of old age. What did we think
the Guardian.
About that? Yeah, the Guardian. Who's the Guardian?
What's the Guardian? What are they guarding? What are they guarding?
hopefully that'll be answered, because that's Rumple's ultimate goal now.
I do think that episode was important, though, because as I mentioned, like, we got a retcon on Hook for why this is a different Hook who has different goals, and we kind of can understand where Regina's coming from as far as wanting to branch out and find a new place to begin her story and maybe find her happy ending. But Rumple, that's a tough one. I mean, there is the theory that Wish Realm Rumple is still out there somewhere doing hijinks and being all dealy.
I think that's who the gold Rumple we saw was Wish Realm Rumple. I know we talked about this the last time, trying to piece together whether that was Wish Realm Rumple or not Wish Realm Rumple, but I think it was. The one that gave Wish Realm Hook, the little white elephant, that he gave away. Who did he give that to? He was supposed to give it to Alice.
He gave it to Ella.
Yeah.
So that Lucy.
Yep, Ella and Lucy.
Still.
Right. I think that was Wish Realm Rumple.
I probably agree with you. It's just that the way that they've done the chronological presenting of data has made it really hard to tell when that happened. But yeah, no, I think that the episode with Belle and showing their life together, however reminiscent of Up it may be, Emily, I think that was a good quick way for them to show how we can get Rumple to be the character that we need him to be in this new series with this new curse, without kind of like being mean to all the Rumple Bell fans out there. I know a lot of us have been Rump Bell. Sorry, yeah,
that's the shipper name.
Yeah, they did They found a way to honor the ship, but then to be able to move on from it without sinking it. I don't know how you phrase these things. And we got to see Grown Up Gideon again, which I guess they just really wanted to bring that actor back for a little bit.
Well, it kind of helps round out their story, though, too, because at the end of season 6, Gideon went back into baby form. So we got to see that they were able to raise their child together like they wanted to.
Yeah, I thought it was a really nice way to close all of that up. Even though I did hate that it was a direct rip-off of Up. That moment is just so perfect in the movie that I hate that they tried to recreate it for the show. But that's another story. It's okay. I'm glad that they gave them that moment, though, to wrap up that whole storyline so we weren't left wondering what the heck happened.
But they do that all the time. They rip off moments all the time.
Yeah.
And you can think of it as a little death nod to Pixar, which I don't think they can actually use anything on this show. They did do...
Yeah, I don't think they can.
They did Merida, though. I guess. I don't know.
For a brief second.
Yeah. Where did Merida go? Where did Mulan go?
They're off having a wonderful relationship together in the Scottish Highlands, maybe.
I still stand by my theory that Mulan, Merida, Ruby, and Dorothy are forming just an all-female Justice League that's just going around solving all the problems that the prince and queen, or the king and queen, Snow White and Charming, are neglecting. They're just neglecting their whole kingdom quite a bit. There are people that still need help. So I like the thought of this band of extremely strong female characters going around taking names.
Well, on that note, then pretty soon, baby Robin, who's now grown-up Robin, and her girlfriend, Alice, will also marry women who are totally badass. Robin inherited her father's archery skills, if I remember right.
Yes.
So.
We should note for corporate alignment that it would probably be an all-female Avengers, because Disney owns them.
Yes.
There.
Yeah.
There.
Justice League's owned by Warner Brothers. No copyright infringement, Warner Brothers. We know how fussy you are. That's the subject of another podcast, which we already have. So, what else haven't we haven't talked about? Nick, the super hot dude from True Blood, and the originals, who played...
Oh, yeah.
He's Jack and the Beanstalk in the Enchanted Forest, and he is Lucy's alleged father under the curse.
But once again, Kylie, it's another story. This is another Jack, because we already met Jack, who was Jacqueline, back in, I think, season 1 or 2. She was a friend of the evil Prince James, and she was a giant slayer, but the giants, we learned, were benevolent beings, which just kind of made her more of a villain, because she would go around poisoning them and stabbing them with her poisoned sword and killing them. So this is Jack/Nick is another, what do we want to call these? Offshoot story?
I don't know, you're just making me madder the more you bring these up. They need to explain, if they let this show end without explaining this, I don't think it will sit well with me. I might not have good memories about Once Upon a Time.
I don't think it's going to sit well with anybody if they just drop it and be like, okay, see you, bye.
I don't know, they've done other things like that. For
They
example, a really cool mid-season finale where they were all being sent back to the Enchanted Forest, and then in the very next one we're in New York City with Emma and Henry, and then they were back in Storybrooke, and we're like, what the heck happened? There was so much #potential. I'm not bitter. No bitterness here. So what questions, now Emily must be the only one who has seen episode 11, so you can't answer any questions with these questions.
I won't.
Okay. So what questions do you have going forward into 7B? What wishes or predictions do you have? And how would you like to see the show end? Now we know that there is an end coming. What do you want to see as the end? Spend some time on that.
I think since they're kind of cutting short this fresh new storyline, which unfortunately we won't get to see because I do really like this new world and this new ensemble, and I would have liked to watch 3 seasons of that at least. But since we're not getting that, I don't want them to try and completely tie up everything as far as, like, I want them to end it in a way that makes it feel like there's gonna be another season. Like, I don't mean as far as, like, new elements, but just as far as, like, there are some things that end and it's like, boom, final note. And there are other ones that end and you, like, get the feeling that the characters are going to go on and they're going to have a bunch of great new adventures. I want them to set up the, at least, core characters for Hyperion Heights in a way that we can imagine that they will go on and have new adventures rather than kind of leaving them at a standoff point. Because that's the thing, you ask what questions we have and what predictions we have and how we want the show to end. Just with the plot that they've introduced in this half season, I don't know how to end it. Like, that's for the writers to know and me to find out.
I agree, actually, in that I want to feel kind of a sense of closure, like not just cutting it off, but at the same time, you always want to leave the audience wanting more, even if it's at the very end of, like, a really great play, for instance. That's kind of what the goal is at the end of it, even though you've kind of put a button on that moment or on that story, you still get the sense of, I want more, I wonder what's going on. I can kind of craft, maybe there's still some fun stuff going on and adventures and evil and magic and whatever. I agree. But I personally do want some closure. I do want them to wake up because I want to know what that's going to be like.
It's really hard to say what I'm looking for. Because season 6, it ended so well. And I think at this point, I don't know how they can wrap everything up so nicely like they did last season. I just hope that they don't leave us hanging. I hope they answer some of those questions. I don't know. I'm still kind of up in the air. But I hope they do it justice, because otherwise, I hate to say it, but what was the point of this season if they don't end it well?
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with what everybody else has been saying so far, too. Yeah, I have watched the first episode of the second half of the season, but it really hasn't given us any information as really to where things are going. I mean, one major thing happened, but I won't talk about it yet. But I really hope that they do kind of close everything up and make it a nice, neat little package where maybe sometime down the road, like all these other shows that are getting reboots, maybe it gets rebooted 10 years down the road. I want there to be enough information. I want to get enough information that we have that sense of closure, but still, like Micah said, have that feeling that there is more that's happening after this, and that it's not just oh, well, that's the end. They're all dead. It's the end of the road. That's the end of the show. I think that we are going to get some of that information, but we always say #potential, and a lot of times, especially lately, we've been kind of getting let down with some of that. So I don't know. I'm not getting my hopes up because I don't know. I'm kind of worried as to how they're going to end it.
I'm not worried. Well, I am a little worried. I mean, I think it would be dishonest to say I'm not worried, just because with Once Upon a Time, everything has been kind of up and down, right? There's been some very strong seasons, and there's been some not so strong seasons. If you'd like to pepper stuff in here right now, you can.
Maybe Frozen is just off the top of my head. Like,
What? I can't imagine what you're talking about. And also season 5. I thought season 5 was kind of a hot mess. And
Camelot was really messy.
Yeah.
It was messy. The first half of season 6 was messy as well. And on the one hand, yes, this reboot has breathed new life into the show, and I think that there is a lot of hashtag potential, hashtag drink, to capitalize on that. But at the same time, their track record is such that I don't know if I can trust them to actually leave me with a satisfied feeling in the end. And I don't know what a satisfied feeling for Once Upon a Time and my experience as a viewer of the show over 7 seasons really looks like, because I can't say that I've been satisfied with it for a while. I've been intrigued, I've been engaged, I think they've been creative, but I don't know that anything they've done, even in this first half of this season, which is interesting, and it's definitely something that I think a lot of other people haven't tried before. I don't know that I trust that they're going to take it to a place that I say, yeah, Once Upon a Time was this awesome show that I recommend to all my friends because it's been such a greatly written fantasy thingy. I don't know if I'm there. At the same time, there are certain characters. I think the character in particular that I would like to well, there's 2 characters that I really want to see have a happy ending, probably more than any others. One is Henry, just because this story in this 7th season is supposed to be his. And then the other one is Regina, because that's been Regina's arc. You know, she's been the redeemed villain. And I don't think we've really reached a happy ending point for her. And I don't know if True Love, if you will, is her happy ending. But maybe her happy ending is something that we haven't conceived of, or maybe it's the family love, because that's oftentimes the true love here. Or maybe it's self-love, you know, just the ability to be comfortable with who she is. There's lots of possibilities for her. I hope they give her a good button. Everybody else, though, I don't know that I care too much, because I don't know that I'm as invested in any of them. Rumpelstiltskin aside, but I think wherever Rumpelstiltskin lands, we're going to be okay with it. Because he's either going to be the dark one, and that's what he's always been, and he's pretty good at that, or he's going to break the Dark One curse and finally reunite with Belle, and I think I'd be okay with that too. Either outcome for me would work for him.
Yep, I mean, they did establish there is an afterlife in the Once universe, as far as both the underworld and Zeus stepping in, so that we have some kind of heaven equivalent. So I definitely think that they could possibly wrap up his story with a nice teary reunion with Belle. But once again, like, I think they have a lot just from this first half of the season that they need to digest and get through before they can earn an attempt at another great ending. Because for all the problems it did have in the 6 seasons and in the 6th season, the ending of Once Season 6 was
strong.
A perfect series finale.
Yes, it was.
Perfectly right there. They hit the musical episode in that season, so they touched all the bases they needed to touch for me to be happy. But this is feeling a little bit like Scrubs, where they have a perfect ending, and then they bring it back, and they bring in new characters with some of the old characters, and then it ends. So it's just kind of like, yeah, like you said, why did we do this if we're not going to be able to finish it well? So I'm definitely rooting for them, and I hope that they do it very well, because Emily brought up that, like, 10 years down the line, if this ended well, that they could bring it back. And I will definitely watch Once Upon a Time, The Next Generation. I will be there.
See, but here's my thing about that. They've already rebooted. Why would they reboot again?
Like you said, 10 years.
So, like, you're talking, like, when, like, Lucy is older, like, and down the line when that actress actually, like, I know what Smike is saying, and I'm with him.
Degrassi this thing.
Yeah, let's Degrassi this thing.
Yeah.
And for those of us who are old enough to watch the original Degrassi when it was new on TV, we're very excited with The Next Generation. That's a sidebar.
Hashtag I'm the oldest one here. That's a long hashtag.
Hashtag I'm the second oldest one here. So.
Yeah, but I ain't watched none of this Degrassi stuff. I have no relationship. I can talk about Star Trek The Next Generation. That, my friends, was 20 years after the fact.
I mean, they had Scotty on an episode of that, so we did
And
get to
Spock.
see at least one of the original faces.
They had Spock and they had Bones on separate individual episodes, too.
True.
All I'm saying is there were 20 years and some movies in between. Not like a few.
Speaking of original,
It wasn't a few. We're talking like 15 years, Kylie. But anyway, that's something else.
Spike grew up, man. I'm telling you.
I don't know nothing about no Degrassi.
I'll try this again. So speaking of original faces, there's been talk that they are able to get a few of the original characters from the first 6 seasons are going to be potentially making an appearance in the back half of this season.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that. I really hope that comes to be.
I think it will, and the producers have said that they've extended an invitation to all original cast members that if they want to come back, that they will make room for them. They said the only one who probably will not return is Jennifer Morrison, aka Emma, just because it's in her contract to only do one, but they said the door is always open for her to come back if she's able to make it work.
They can write new contracts.
So
No, that definitely sounds like they're trying to
wrap it up.
That they want to be able to do that big goodbye.
Which would be very nice. But also, I mean, just because it's canceled now, is there any hope that it could pull a Nashville, for lack of a better example, and immediately or like soon get picked up by another network or a streaming service to continue?
No.
I was
settle of that happening?
I was thinking about that, but I don't see Disney. The ABC's been a Disney company for so long, so it was easy for them to do these characters through that. I don't see Disney loosening the leash quite that much for like Netflix to pick them up for a season.
I would say that maybe the only option for that would be, Kristen, wasn't it you mentioning that Disney's working on their own streaming service? That maybe if that is a thing, that would be when it gets picked up again. I could see that happening. That wouldn't surprise me if they're trying to start like a lineup of TV shows similar to Netflix.
But I don't know if they would resurrect this one for that purpose, though. They would probably, so I think their goal is to do a new original streaming, not resurrected original streaming.
Yeah.
This will be probably available on that app, but I don't see them making new episodes.
I was going to say, in answer to the question, could it be picked up by another network? This is highly unlikely for several reasons. The number one reason is the one Micah just pointed out. It's an embedded Disney property. It's basically Disney's mass-produced, self-replicating marketing system for some of its, not only its older properties, but it also has used it to kind of advertise or hint at its newer things and projects that are coming out. I don't see Disney letting that go to anything other than a Disney-owned network. Now, Disney owns a couple of the cable outlets, including the Disney Channel and ABC Family, but I don't think that, which is not that anymore, it's Freeform, but I don't think that this show, it's been on for a very long time. 7 years makes it a late life series. Also, this network runner and the switching to Friday and the reboot itself kind of was the kiss of death for it a little bit, in terms of its marketability to be picked up by another network. And another network would only pick up something if it was in a very nascent stage, and also a stage where there was a lot of, now I mean potential without the hashtag, that they could then capitalize on that would fit with their own brand. For example, the rare exception where there was a major network crossover was Supergirl, which started on CBS in a weird network match, although the parent company is kind of the same, subsidiary of Warner Brothers. It ended up moving to the CW along with all of the other Arrowverse shows, where, of course, it's a much more natural fit. And that was after one season. And if CW hadn't picked up Supergirl, it would have been canceled, just dead after that CBS season. So it's a little bit different situation with Once Upon a Time. I suppose it could be rebooted down the line. I don't know. the trend of reboots feels very indeed trendy right now, and I don't know how long this trend is going to last. But there could be a next generation somewhere.
I was going to say, I would have definitely been in favor of a move from just, like, if they were going to, like, give it a death spot on ABC, move it from there entirely and replant it in what is now Freeform, because since it's a cable property, ratings as far as time slots aren't quite as big of a thing, just because there are so many people that still to this day do not have cable. So the major networks are still they're the major networks for a reason, and they're on everybody's TV. But I think it would have fit with the show profile that they do have on ABC Family / Freeform. But I still think it probably would have only maybe gotten another season to kind of write out the story, which I think is what I want, but at the same time, I don't know, it's just all been kind of a very unceremonious end for Once Upon a Time. So I'm glad that the content for this season half has been as strong as it has, because if it wasn't as good as it is, I definitely would have just not been happy at all with any of what has gone down with the network in response to the show.
Well, and maybe I can see Freeform picking it up and kind of like a syndicated, we're repeating it here phase, but I just don't see it. I just don't see the production of any new seasons, because ultimately that would be Disney funded, and I don't think they want to fund it anymore.
Have we heard if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got canceled yet?
We have not heard.
See, that strikes me as really weird, because since I also watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I feel like that show is significantly weaker than Once Upon a Time. So I'm very confused as to why they would be so quick to cancel this one, unless their whole point is they want to give this a good end. But if they let Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. go for another season and this one got the axe, I will boycott that showrunner as hard as I can. Or not the showrunner, the network runner as hard as I can.
I anticipate that May sweeps will determine the fate of some of these shows. I would be very surprised if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got renewed. Marvel has disavowed the show and has disowned it.
Not happy about that.
Yeah, they basically said it's gone too far off the rails and it doesn't match your continuity anymore, and so therefore, boo Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I also think that despite all of the computer-generated imagery on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it might actually be somewhat cheaper in terms of who they're paying as far as their actors are concerned. The Once Upon a Time cast is very large. Plus, they have fantasy-driven elements that they have to CGI, so I'm guessing that's part of it as well. I haven't seen the ratings numbers for both shows. I know that we talked a little bit last time about how Once Upon a Time had a really good bumper numbers in terms of streaming traffic and that kind of thing. I have not seen any metrics for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but at the same time, there's a part of me that believes pretty strongly that unless they need something to fill that Friday night slot and they don't have anything else, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. probably will be canceled. I actually kind of expect it. But I haven't watched any of it, so I don't know how weaker it is in terms of the story. And of course, we have a podcast panel that covers Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., 2/3 of which are on this panel. We will cover that at the end of season 2.
I was just going back and reading an article from February 27th, so a week ago, about the whole end of the season, end of the show and everything. And it was saying that, it says, if the question is, will the final 2 hours remind us of the first 6 years, then the answer is yes. He mentioned that Henry Mills, that Jared Gilmore, who was last seen in the first 2 episodes of 7, would be back in a flashback scene with Regina in episode 20. Meanwhile, for the remainder of the season, a perpetrator is killing witches just as a coven is being pulled together. Also, someone will challenge Mr. Gold, so that's also really interesting. And that there will not be another musical episode, which is good, because I think 1 was enough. I think if they were to add a second one, I would just be done. I'd be like, okay, I'm done. And then they also said it's less about tying everything up in a bow, rather hearing the song one more time. So just so we're all aware that that's also a thing, that they're not trying to just put it all together. They are just trying to kind of relive all of those memories that we have from the last 6 years, which could be, I don't know how I feel about that.
I think we've been reliving a lot Already.
Yeah, and they also said that there was a pitch for season 8, but they're going to save it for the reunion when they approach us in 2 years, which is what Adam Kitts has said. So, who knows?
Yeah, how's that Lost reunion going there, Adam?
Yeah, they said, since Lost, we've done 300 plus hours of television in the last 14 years. We might take a break, which I think would be good considering how Once Upon a Time has kind of been up and down for the whole time.
I would definitely prefer if we kind of maybe got something similar to what went down with Heroes, where if they kind of end the season the way that they are prepared and able to do that, and then maybe in a few years they will have a limited series, which generally is just code for a completely fully written out story that generally will flow better than something that's being churned out week by week. And then maybe they'd be able to give us just like a nice 8 to 10 episode super wrap up that would kind of put a nail in some of the coffins. But once again, we don't know what those coffins, nailed or unnailed, will be at the end of the series and season so far.
I don't know. This description that you've just read, Emily, leaves me with half of my brain thinking, yep, it's going to be just as I expect.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And half of my brain being like, okay, play it again, Sam. But then I don't know that I'm going to want to see a reunion. I mean, if they're depending upon the feels, if you will, to ride them out through the end of the season with everything that they've set up and not put a lot of meat behind the story, I would really struggle with being like Once Upon a Time was a great show. And we've talked at length in other episodes about the fact that it started off very strong and we all have this really great memory of that, but I don't know. That it just, to me, that doesn't feel very creative to retread.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think they should have taken this opportunity to kind of tie everything up, but again, in the way that Micah was saying, where the loose ends are kind of pulled together, but it's not like fully, this is the very end. There's no point, there's no moving forward with these characters, like this is it. So that's why I'm kind of worried at this point.
Are you going to keep watching?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So now I am talking to Eddie. Eddie, who couldn't make our normal recording session. We'll fix that when the summertime comes and we do our last 2. But Eddie is here because he wanted to make sure that his opinions were also shared. And because of that, we also have the fun newlywed hijinks that we're going to play. But that'll be at the end. Eddie, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to be back. And this is fun. I'm excited to do this. I kind of feel spoiled that it's just me. Nobody can talk over me. It's all my time.
Well, oh, good. Hopefully, though, you enjoy the discussions, too.
So I'm very fired up to discuss this season. I'm very torn about this season and how I feel. I didn't want to like it. I really wanted to hate it because I was really mad about the last season. I wanted it to end. I mean, I felt like everybody got their happy ending and we couldn't go any farther. But, of course, since I'm a trooper and I can't, not watch it, I think it's a requirement by law now in Eddie's law book. So I watched it, and it's actually really good. And I was talking to a couple of my friends that watched the show as well, and I was like, I really wish the acting that's in this season now was in season 5. And I know that was the Frozen arc, and I just picked season 5. But I really wish that they...
4 was the Frozen arc.
4 was thank you.
Yeah.
I really wish the acting that they have, though, this season, we would have saw earlier, and I think the show would have been doing better.
Well, we'll talk more about that as we go, but I have to ask you, you have the standard CPU character question that changes with each show we do, and of course I have to take everyone's temperature. Actually, last time we talked about this, you were Emma. Emma's not an option this time.
I know.
So who are you now?
Well, I mean, it's going to be no surprise. We all know that I love the Queen and all her gloriousness. So it makes sense that I'm Regina. I was very, very reluctant on how this whole season was going to go. And like I've stated already, like I started watching and I went, wow, this is really good. However, they're following their Once Upon a Time form. They're using, I don't think I can ever watch a show with a curse ever again.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely using some of the same concepts. However, I do have to say they're using stuff that they've done well in the past. So, I mean, I guess if it's not broken, don't try fixing it. However, I feel like it went broken a long time ago. So it's like, I'm really torn on this. I also am Regina because I think Regina is my new favorite character, which is really weird.
New favorite character or new old favorite character?
Well, when I say that, I mean, because they're under the spell, per se, the curse, is that, like, her new, like, identity is my favorite. Ronnie, yes. Ronnie is definitely my favorite because I think if there was no spell, if she was never a queen, that would be who Regina truly is. She's this hard surface person who deep down inside has a really good heart. And it makes sense that she's a bartender because she's kind of like the mom. She's the mom for the town. She's the therapist for the town. And she just takes care of everybody. One of my favorite scenes that they had was when she got the picture of her and Henry. That scene was so well done. And the reason why is because it's like, and I love my mom. My mom's like my best friend. So, I mean, this scene like meant way more to me. But it's like you never, no curse can take true love away from anybody. So, I mean, a small little picture, super quick scene, but like that scene meant the world to me.
Now that we know you're Regina again, we'll talk about what you think about the 7th season. You mentioned that you liked it, but now that they do have Hyperion Heights, the new curse, all the new characters, give me some feedback about what you feel about those aspects.
Again, I like the season and where it's going. The only thing I don't like is that we're getting a lot of new introductions. And there's obviously something we're probably going to talk about a little later, that now it's kind of like, all right, now we're going to be in crunch time. And so, I keep saying unfortunately, it's actually not unfortunate. It's actually very fortunate, but these new characters are amazing. I love Eloise Gardner. Very strong character. I think she's probably one of the characters that we've met in all the seasons that could give the queen a run for her money.
Otherwise known as Mother Gothel.
I really think she can give her the run for her money, and I love the character. Very, very well played, very well structured. So yeah, I love the new characters that they've introduced, but I'm just afraid that we're unfortunately going to lose time with them, not because of what we already know that's going to happen. It's just the fact that Once has a history. They introduce these people and then we go, hey, where did they go? And I really, really hope that doesn't happen, but I'm not going to hold my breath because Once has a track record and if they're going to redo everything else they've done, they're going to disappoint us on where they're going to take these characters. I did say that I loved Regina in her new form. I can't believe I'm saying this. We all know that I'm not a fan of Hook. I have not been a fan of Hook. I've finally fallen in love with the man. I think it's because Hook hasn't changed the most. Like, Hook is still Hook. And I think that's the reason why.
Except he's Wish Realm Hook.
That's true. I like how they're portraying him as he's being a hero, but he's still being that hard-coded person that he is, and he's not losing his true colors. And again, the curse can't, just like with true love, with like Regina and her still loving Henry and always loving Henry, you really can't take the big jerk out of Hook. Like, he's always going to be this rough, tough guy, and even a curse can't take that away. And I really like that. I don't know if they fired their writers from seasons 4, 5, and 6, and were like, hey, y'all want a job, and pulled them off the street. But some of the writing is really intricate in this season thus far. I really think that they know, and the reason why, this is my personal opinion, that the writing is so intricate is because they're like, okay, the people that are watching this season are our diehard fans. And so they're going to get it. Like, I couldn't bring in somebody who hasn't seen seasons 1 through 6 and go, okay, watch the season, and them understand Hook. Like, it wouldn't make sense to them. They would probably fall in love with the character because he's a very personable character.
And a handsome character.
You know what? I'm gonna give it all to you guys. He's pretty good looking. I'm not gonna lie. He's winning me over. But yeah, so that's another thing that I like about the season as well, is that I really think it's truly, I'm gonna call us the oncers. Like, I think they call us something else, but
oh, they call us oncers.
Oncers, okay, I figured. So I think they finally are writing a season for the oncers, which I feel like should have happened 3 seasons ago. And I don't think it would be canceled. Unfortunately, we have to talk about that.
So tell me about, you mentioned the intricate writing, and there is a lot of interweaving in the different plot aspects, like the different story aspects. So just kind of tell me what you think about some of the new characters, for example, like Adult Henry. We've got Cinderella, played by Dania Ramirez. We have Sabine, otherwise known as Princess Tiana, or Queen Tiana. She gets a promotion in the season somewhere. We also have Rapunzel, whose spoiler is, we meet her as Cinderella's evil stepmother, Lady Tremaine, but we find out that she's really Rapunzel. I met Rapunzel. Mother Gothel in Rapunzel's body had a quickie with Hook and produced a baby the very next day. Magic. Stuff like that. So respond to some of that stuff.
You need a guidebook. We start here at step 1 and go to step 2. Again, in once fashion, we wouldn't, if our head wasn't spinning, it wouldn't be the right show. So that makes total sense. I have to say, if I picked a character that we've met this season that is the weakest, it would be Cinderella. What's really sad is I love the actress. I think she's amazing. I've actually for me, I never do plugs. I actually wrote a little blog up on Devious Maids. You guys should read it. It was great. Love the show. She was one of the main characters in that show, and she was fabulous in that show. She's been on Young and the Restless a couple times. But anyway, wonderful actress, horrible character. I mean, I think what's sad is she's supposed to be a main character in like the season, and if they plucked her out, I think the story would still go on. I think she's kind of the little fluff where they went, oh crap, we need people to love each other. Oops, and they plugged her in. So I really think that's the only reason she's there. Where I love her story, and every time we pan to it, I'm like, I just want more, is Princess Tiana. Is it Tatiana? Tatiana, right?
Tiana.
Okay, yeah. I absolutely love her. She's a very empowering character, very strong woman. And quite honestly, if I had to say, I personally think she's like the leading female of the season, of the new characters. So for me to follow the show, and if anybody that understands the show, I have like new characters and old characters that I have to like, and I have to balance them. And so for like the new characters, I feel like she is the lead for the new characters. However, then you get this tiny little girl, Lucy, that decides to just knock on everybody's hearts. It's going to be interesting, since they are canceling the show, to see what happens with Lucy, because she's so young. I mean, we've watched Henry, obviously, the season completely grow up. Adult Henry is beautiful. Let's just throw that out there. He's gorgeous. Not the best actor. I feel like, and this isn't the actor's fault either, again, like Cinderella, I don't think adult Henry is Henry. And I'm really hoping that we see more. He's kind of being led by Cinderella and Rapunzel, whatever name you want to pick. She has like 75 of them. Rapunzel, Lady Tremaine, the mayor. Is she the mayor? She was the mayor, right? The mayor of the town?
She's not. She's like a high-powered corporate business owner that is just kind of calling the shots for all the other businesses. Almost like a mob boss, if you think about it.
Oh, I kind of like her a little more now, thinking about that. Anyway, I don't know. She's an interesting person as well, because she has her moments. I'm going to use her as 2 different characters. I don't like Lady Tremaine, like, present time, but I really like her in the flashbacks. I think she's a great, intricate part in the flashbacks, leading the story in the flashbacks. And then you asked me about the story and the season.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was a cop-out for this season. for them to do what they did. I felt like they said, all right, we have another season, we have to do something, let's redo it. And so I think that's why we got introduced to Lucy and to all the new characters and the new town. I think the reason why I like the new town is it's not like Storybrooke where like there's a force field. Star Wars, hey. There's not like a force field where they can't leave. Like there's people that are in this town that aren't cursed per se. Like they're literally there working. Like that's just what they do. And I think that's my favorite part about the town is that it's all air quotes if people could see them. Normal as normal can be for once upon a time.
So there were a couple things that you touched on that I think we also talked about when we did the Prime recording, which was one of the things you mentioned was you actually like Cinderella the actress, and I think I was a very strong kind of vocal opponent of her. She is definitely the weakest character, but I also feel that's because and maybe she's just not connecting to this character, but I find it really hard to buy into her performance. She always looks like she's a deer in headlights when she's talking to everybody, so it's hard for me to connect. But we also talked about the fact that not only are they recycling everything like you mentioned, but they're recycling everything with a new version of Cinderella when we've already met a Cinderella. And there are a couple of other characters that are new versions, like Jack, for example, played by the guy that was on True Blood and the originals, the one that you think is really hot. Yeah, he is really hot. That he's playing a version of Jack, and we've already seen a version of Jack. Now, the version of Jack we saw before was female, but still we saw a version of Jack. So what do you think about the fact that they're introducing new versions of characters we've already seen without really explaining it?
I think to me, it almost is like, as a oncer and I've watched all the seasons, it goes, are we in a different realm? Yes, there's a Cinderella who's in Storybrooke, but there's also a Cinderella in Hyperion Heights, yes. And then there's a queen over here, evil queen over here, but there's an evil queen over there. And so I almost feel like it's two different worlds. And the reason why they did it is they wanted people to know this is a whole different story, whole different storyline. That's my main reason why I think that they brought back the characters. And I really think they enjoy confusing all of us, like going, are you serious? Like, what's going on? It'll be interesting to see if they link them, to see if they actually are linked.
The only thing that we noted and that has been stated is that adult Henry goes to the Enchanted Forest to find its story, and it actually is the Enchanted Forest where she is and where everybody else is, and they actually make mention of the fact that Snow White and Prince Charming and Regina and Rumpel are all from a different part, but still the Enchanted Forest. Yeah.
So the Enchanted Forest is huge.
Apparently.
It's ginormous. So it's another part of the Enchanted Forest that we are now knocking on. It's almost like we moved to a different village. And so every village has a Cinderella, every village has a queen, every village has a... It's very interesting because the first time we met Cinderella, they called her Cinderella. But now they called her Ella and they call her Ellie.
They just call her Ella. I think that's just short for Cinderella, though.
It is, but I mean... I hate to bring up I really wish she was here to defend this, our lovely Kristen. When Disney started jumping on the bandwagon and redoing all the movies, I mean, it was still Cinderella, but it was a different character, and how they made sure that it was a different character, they called her a different name. It was ultimately Cinderella, but, I mean, they called her Ella. So, I mean, yeah, I really don't have much on why they brought back these other characters, except that just so that we know we're in a different part of the Enchanted Forest, we're in a different realm. It really hasn't bothered me. Okay. I mean, it would really bother me if they brought back super strong characters from the past. And what I mean is, like, all of a sudden there's a new Peter Pan. I would be super pissed. Like, I would be so mad. All of a sudden, here comes, now there's like 7 million of them that have been super strong, but like, here comes Elsa walking down the street, and it's a different Elsa. Like, I think that would make me mad. So they're not characters that I was like, I fell in love with, you know? For the record, I did not fall in love with Elsa. I thought she was overdone, and just thought I'd make that disclaimer. She's the only one I could think of at the time. But yeah, I think that's the reason why it doesn't bother me per se. However, don't we have an Alice though in this season? Hook's daughter.
Wish Realm Hook's daughter.
Wish Realm's Hook's daughter and Rapunzel's
Mother
daughter.
Gothel's daughter.
Correct.
Yeah, Mother Gothel was wearing Rapunzel's face at the time they got busy.
And
they were in Rapunzel's tower, too.
Just try saying that to, like, a normal person who doesn't watch the show, and then they would be like, nope, not watching. So, yes, I mean, I can't remember. I'm sure we haven't met. We were in Wonderland. There was a spinoff show. We had to have met a different Alice.
We met Alice in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, and we talked about that, too, yeah.
Pretty sure. Yeah, I was pretty sure, and the reason I didn't bring it up, I think, the first time is because I couldn't remember the character in my head, like what she looked like or whatnot. So, I mean, that's ultimately the reason I say Peter Pan is because Neverland was my favorite place that they've gone. It still they have not been able to, like, redo that season for, like, me at all, like, and recapture the magic and the love that was in that season. I think that's why I said Peter Pan, but I mean, it's a little weird that they've redone Alice and Cinderella, but again, I mean, they kind of warned us and they said it was a reboot, so I wish they would have had a different reboot and, like, redid it somehow and not have a curse.
It's a reboot with some of the same characters who are different, and some different characters, so I guess it does bother me because I don't understand what the rules are in this new world, but
are not.
Apparently not. Not only are we talking about a curse, but we're talking about a curse where the heart of the truest believer is again at the forefront, and by the end of the season we can kind of skip around. I mean, we find out first of all that Lady Tremaine is cold to the daughter we see, which is Ivy or Drizella, because when she was locked in Rapunzel's tower as Rapunzel, her husband remarried Cinderella's mother. Ivy became closer to Cinderella's mother because she's the younger one, and Anastasia is the one that stayed loyal to her. So she had kind of an axe to grind against not only Drizella, but also Cinderella, because Cinderella was the new element. And part of one of the things she did was to make sure that Cinderella's mom, Cecilia, was cursed herself so that she couldn't be touched. And she ended up in Wonderland, and something happened over there, but she never came back. And then there was that scene where Anastasia and Cinderella fell through the ice, and Marcus, Cinderella's father, and the other two's father, could only save one of them, and he chose Cinderella. So we have this whole backstory where Tremaine/Rapunzel really only is loyal to Anastasia, and her whole purpose is to save Anastasia because she didn't die. She saved her before she took her last dying breath through the magic of Mother Gothel. So what do you think about all of that piece?
And you didn't even hit on my favorite part, where she could be a dark one. That's my favorite part.
Who could be a dark one?
Is it Anastasia, the one who has all the power? Yeah, she's the one that has all the power that Rumple and who else is in that room with him? When she finds the dagger and she knows exactly where it's at, the one that controls the Dark One.
I don't remember who's with him, but what we do know is that both of Tremaine's daughters have magical ability. But Anastasia seems to, that was my question. Like, where did
where did this come from?
That's my question. Why is one so much more powerful than the other? Because Regina had to help Drizella, but Anastasia apparently can come back from near death and hold the Dark One dagger. So what do you think?
They were bored? I really hope honestly at this point, I really hope we learn more about why she can. I think oh gosh, I'm trying here. The one that pretended to be Rapunzel and now has the baby.
Mother Gothel.
I think she somehow, because she helped Rapunzel, the real Rapunzel, save her, per se, and make sure that her last breath isn't taken. And I think when she helped save her, it kind of gave her even stronger powers. That's the only thing I got, and I'm really digging that understands how she has, like, super strong powers. I do know she scares Rumple. There were some scenes where even she made Rumple kind of, like, fear himself. So it would make sense that she could do some strong things since she was saved. The rest of them, I got nothing. I don't know why they'll have powers. I mean, Rapunzel, didn't she drink a potion that she got from her so that her husband would fall back and Mark would fall back in love with her again?
The potion was the curse that made Cecilia, the mom, not able to be touched by anyone that she loved.
Gotcha.
And it was made from that mushroom.
Right, because isn't the same spell is on Alice and Hook?
Correct.
Oh, there we go. I got nothing.
What do you think about Rumple this season?
I love Rumple this season. I like Rumple because we're starting to see a softer side of Rumple. I think that softer side is starting to come through, especially with us learning, which I thought was a pretty dramatic way. I mean, do we expect anything else? That how Belle died. So I think when Belle died, we kind of lost the piece of Rumple, and I think he's trying to find himself again. And I think the only way he can be his true self again is to become as powerful and go back to his main mission, because Belle was someone who could divert him away from that, but now he doesn't have her in his life. I really like Rumple's story and how it's developing.
Even though, I mean, you're saying that, but Rumple is actually trying to separate himself from the Dark One curse so that he can reunite with Belle, because he's immortal otherwise, and she did die.
I guess it's still, to me, is like, it's still a softer side. Even though he's trying to get away from the Dark One magic, I still think it's a softer side of Rumple that we haven't, I mean, we've seen, but we've only seen with Belle. And it's really interesting to see his new mission on how it's not, I'm trying to be as powerful as I can. It's, I'm trying to see how I can just live the life that I truly feel I'm meant to have.
Do you think he was awake the whole time? Or do you think he got woke?
I love that question. I love how you asked that. And because you asked it like that, I'm going to give you an interesting answer. I'm going to say both. I think he knew something wasn't right, but I think he needed to be led in the right direction. Does that make any sense, me saying that?
Mm-hmm. So at what point do you think the direction clicked for him?
I think once he was reminded of who his true love... Again, back to the same true love thing. Same with Regina when she saw the picture of Henry. And I'm pretty sure you can correct me if it's been a hot minute since I've watched this part. But I'm pretty sure he saw the chip cup. Mm-hmm. It reminded him of Belle. So, I mean, I think he's always been awake. Because I don't think Rumple can truly fall under a curse because he is the Dark One. However, I don't think, to emphasize that, I don't think his mind is so controlled because he's the Dark One and he's so powerful. I don't think anybody has the capability of truly cursing him. However, this time around, he's kind of let some of that strong magic his evilness kind of fade away. And his heart kind of... All I think about is, like, the beast, like, heart growing, like, 10 sizes, like the Grinch does. Like that's the only thing I like to give an image. And how I have it is when he has Belle, his heart, like, totally grows. But when he doesn't have Belle, like, it becomes completely evil. So that's why he was truly in love. He loved Belle. And that's why I think that he kind of fell under the curse a little darker than the last time. Because the last time he was awoke. Right? If I can remember, he was pretty awake.
He was awake.
Yeah, he was awake. So, I mean, that's why I don't think he was completely asleep, but I feel like he was kind of asleep because, like, true love kind of, not denatured, not the word I'm looking for, like, kind of messed with his ability of staying who he was a little bit, which sounds weird, but it doesn't. It's a good thing, like, all at the same time.
What about Zelina? We meet Zelina again later on in the half season, and she's cursed apparently to be a hippie who owns a Soul Cycle shop in San Francisco, and she's called Kelly, and Regina has to go find her and awaken her so that they can kind of stand up to Gothel and to help Ivy and that sort of stuff. So, and she's engaged to a mystery suitor We don't know who he is.
Lord help us. I don't know who he is, but I'm really hoping that she's engaged, which really makes me mad because I really like Zelina in the Underworld season. And she does, quote me again if I'm wrong, she does say that it's her true love that she's marrying, right? And that Regina wouldn't understand that.
She's in this season, she says that?
I'm pretty sure she says something when she shows the wedding dress. I can remember. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to recap here.
I don't know that she says true love. She does say she loves him and is happy. I remember her saying that.
Okay, so yes, there we go. So when she's touching the dress, I have two things for this. One, if they bring Hades back, I'm done.
No.
I wasn't in love with the character. I thought Hades could have been better and stronger. Personal opinion, I'm for saying. It's going to be interesting. I really hope. Oh, I wish my other onesers were here. Hashtag potential.
Hashtag drink.
Right. I really hope that whoever it is, it's someone that they're starting to bring back and they're going to tie up their story. Does that make sense, me saying that?
Yep.
And it's also the thing that I go on is now that Zelina, Kelly, God, everybody has like 5 names. Now that she's woke, it'll be interesting to see if her fiance, if he's woke, or let's say equal opportunity, if she's woke, because you never know with once, if they are woke, what their story's going to be. And I'm really hoping, and I'm also afraid that this is going to be a loose end. I'm scared that they're not going to show us who it is, but they emphasized it enough that I have a feeling we are going to find out who it is, but I'm really hoping it's somebody like, holy crap, wow, they really brought this person back. Who that person could be, not a clue. I really hope that it's someone that we, as onesers, want to see come back so that we can see their story be finished. Because we have like 3 million of those that need to be finished. And we're running out of time.
It's true.
So
we, of course, did bring up in the Prime conversation, where's Will Scarlet? Where's Maleficent? Where's Lily? Where's half a bunch of people?
I mean, honestly, I'm going to tell you, it'll be the best way to bring back a lot of characters is to have a wedding. I feel a wedding brewing. That's the best way to bring characters back and invite half of the Enchanted Forest, or if not the whole thing, which apparently is the size of the Earth now that we've learned.
For Zelina, or for who are you envisioning is getting married in this wedding? Because Emma and Puck already did.
Correct. And if I see this season end with some really good seasoning, if it ends the way that I hope it ends, and it's going to be the dial for me, and I'm going to say this, my series for Once Upon a Time ended last season. In my eyes, the series has already ended. I feel like this is a spin-off. And if they're going to keep following in the footsteps that they have, married, and we're going to see everybody all over again, and the show is going to end with everybody having a happy ending, except those who truly can't have a happy ending. Rumple, the queen, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I honestly don't know who her husband can be. You did ask the question of how I feel about Zelina. I used to like Zelina a lot, and I was actually really excited that Zelina wasn't coming back because she's become weaker and weaker and weaker as a character. I think one of my strongest times that I loved Zelina is with Regina and their mother in the Underworld. She has her high points, but I think she's done her time. And I don't think she needs to be back. So I think there's a reason why she's back. I'm just excited to see what that is. I do think it's interesting that she's a flying monkey worker.
One thing that I think we really have to touch on before we kind of get anywhere close to a wrap up is the fact of the end of the season where we learn about the witches and
8 witches, I guess.
Yeah, the 8 witches. And the fact that Regina is actually the one that was tricked into having to cast the current curse, because if she didn't, Henry would die. And in the current state, if she lifts the curse, Lucy will die.
Okay, so just to clarify, you want me to talk about the 8?
All of that, because it's interrelated. Yeah, what do you think about the 8 witches and Who do you think they are, and what do you think about the fact that Regina got roped into this whole business?
My whole thing about Regina being roped in the whole business is that nobody's as powerful as Regina. ... Without Regina, they couldn't have done it. I also like the element that she didn't cast this curse. I like it because she didn't cast this curse. And unfortunately, the season's going to be a lot of comparison to old and comparison to new. She cast the first curse being pissed off. Like, she wanted revenge. And I think it made it a different curse, even though True Love did break it between Emma and Henry. However, she casted this one with love. And it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to be broken, because it was cast in love. It was cast in protection of the person that she loves the most, besides Robin. However, he's factored out of this. She loves Henry, and she will do anything with her power to protect Henry. I think it's going to come down. I really hope it comes down to the three. I hope somehow Henry, Regina, and Lucy of breaking the spell. I really hope they don't use Cinderella to break the spell. Somehow, some way. I also foresee everybody thinking that Henry and Cinderella are going to break the spell, but I don't think they are the ones that can break the spell. I think it's truly going to be Lucy, and because Henry still doesn't believe that's his daughter, and I think it's going to take her convincing him to be like, you're my daughter, and I think that's what's going to break the curse. And it's going to go back to the book. I mean, it's going to go back to her trying to convince him, like, he had to convince Emma that she is the one who's going to save everybody, and she's as powerful as she was. About the 8, I have two, I guess they're this is all foreshadowing, because we don't really know who any of these people are. What's the word I'm looking for? Not foreshadowing.
Theories?
But, thank you. My first theory is that the 8 doesn't exist. Is that we think that they exist, and that's what Gothel is trying to go after, is to try to find these 8 people, and she's used Anastasia as helping her with, not Anastasia, I'm so sorry, Drizella, and trying to convince her to help her find these 8 people, because she's using the anger that she has for her mother to help find these people, to cast this curse, blah, 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 and it snowballs. I don't think they exist. If this theory is true, then there's somebody who's more powerful than Gothel that we haven't met, who's making her try finding these 8 people. And I think Gothel has a past that we haven't dug into, and I really hope they dig into it, because she's a really strong character. My other theory is that the 8 are all people that we know and love, and they've all been not tricked, but they had to do these evil things to protect the people that we love. So therefore, Regina would be one of the 8. It would be an interesting way to bring back the Charmings. And I'm not saying they are one of the 8, but they are one of the 2 of the 8, because they had to protect Emma, and so that they had to do something, so they become one of the 8. I don't foresee. They haven't given us a definite answer that the 8 are evil per se. They're just there. And
even though they look like the ring wraiths from Lord of the Rings.
I know. I know. I think we're made to think they're evil. I'm pretty sure they're going to be evil. And now the theory that I hope doesn't happen is I hope they're not dark ones. It's been done. It was great. Unless they bring back, oh gosh, what's his name? Myrtle. Not Myrtle. Was that his name? He died, though. He was so hot.
Merlin.
Oh Merlin, thank you. Oh, my God.
As in the most famous wizard ever.
I couldn't think of his name. I knew it started with an M. If they bring back him, they can do whatever they want. So hot. Probably the hottest character that's ever been on Once. Besides the wolf in season 1, who 50 Shades of Grey has destroyed. Anyway.
Okay.
So that's my theory on the 8. Again, somebody's going to just be wasted just listening to me talk about it. I definitely think they have potential. #drink people with the 8. And I also think the 8 are going to make or break the season. And it's going to make or break the new characters. Because they can be these can be really powerful people. And I don't necessarily mean how do I explain this so you understand? They don't necessarily have to be like powerful people as in dark ones. They like, I'm talking like powerful characters as, and I said earlier, as charming, as Snow, like characters that we know, we love. Like we brought up Maleficent's name. It would be interesting to see. Maleficent is one of the 8, if they are evil per se. And then doesn't she have a baby floating around we don't know about either?
Maleficent?
Yeah.
We met her. Her name is Lily.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. So it'd be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see who the 8 is. I hope they're smart enough and show us who the 8 are. I'll be a little mad if we don't know, because they all could stay hooded the whole entire season. That's my partake on the 8.
Now I have to ask this question. Obviously, as we joke about in the Prime recording, this is a lost episode and we found it. And when we recorded the first version of the episode of our podcast, Once Upon a Time had not, for all we know, Once Upon a Time was continuing. Now, since we've lost it and have undergone our equipment failures and recovery sessions, Once Upon a Time has been canceled. So we know now officially that Season 7 is the final season. So with that said, what do you, and spend a little time on this, what do you want to see as the end of everything you've watched so far, Once Upon a Time-wise?
Let me get out my big scroll. Like halfway across the country. No. My true ending for the series, I once this season is over, I'm going to have to hang up the Once Upon a Time for a while, because we've been on it. I foresee myself coming back and falling in love with the show again. So for me, personally, the show is already over. I feel that the show ended last season. It was a great ending. It's going to be really hard for them to make up another ending that's as good as that. We've said, I've lost count how many podcasts we've done for Once Upon a Time, but we've said this many times. I think there's like 3 of us on this podcast that have watched the show, actually. I feel like we're going into the show lost series finale. I feel like they got knocked on the door. There have been many interviews that they knew it was a possible outcome. I think both of them, the creators, they thought last season was going to be the hang-up, and that's why they kind of ended it the way that they did, and then we started season 7, and that's why we got the reboot. I respect them for saying that, and they respect the fact that a lot of us oncers are upset that season 7 is the way that it is, and that season 6 ended the way that it did. For this season, though, honestly, I would be really happy if they just ended the season and cleared the season up. For them to make me truly happy, we would have to have some extensions, and I'd need about 4 movies that would have to come out for me to be truly, truly happy. And for me saying that, I think that is like a once thing, is you have to always keep digging for your happiness and find your happy ending. And so I don't think any of us on this panel, and unfortunately my panelists are not with me. I say panel like you like poll us, and we do honestly sit around and talk around the water cooler, but come on. So I don't
That's
think
what we do, Eddie. Shh.
Sorry. Hashtag drink, guys. Sorry, just saying. I do think they get funnier the longer they go. I don't think any of us on this panelist, because we've all been so dedicated, I don't think any of us are going to be happy with the ending of the season. And I'm saying that possibly like hyping myself up, going, you're going to be disappointed. You're not gonna like how it ends. With saying that, I hope that they end Cinderella's story, Gothel's story, the 8 that we just talked about. I hope they clean up the little mess that they have, instead of trying to clean up everything in the few episodes that they have. Because if they tried cleaning up everything with what happened last season, I just think it's going to open more doors and it's going to make more people mad. So I really hope they end with what they've shown us, and they clean and they just end it like a normal season. I don't want to see this big hoopla that it's the series ending and they bring back all these characters, even though I would love to see Emma come back and I would love to see the Charmings come back and it end. But we got that already. We got that at the end of last season. So like I said, and I'm going to say it again, the ending of season 6 was my true series finale. if I watch it again, I probably would stop at season 6 and just watch season 7 for the fun of it when it's all said and done. And I really was hoping that's what it was going to do. I don't know if I said this in the podcast, but I was expecting to watch season 7, episode 1, hate it, and literally say, you know what, I'm jumping ship. I literally thought that was going to happen. I was prepared to do that. Excuse my language. They got their shit together. They got their poop in a scoop. There we go. They got their scoop in a poop. Can we say that?
Yes.
Brought their stuff together for this season. I don't know. Like, I really, that's just the big thing about all of it, is I really hope they just end, even though it is a series ending and it will always be known as a series ending, I really hope they just clean up what's in this season. Because this season enough, I mean, what we know already is just a lot to clean up and to end itself. So, yeah, I hope they don't make a big deal out of it. They will.
Yeah.
They will. Yeah. They're going to. I mean, first of all, it's ABC. It's Disney, and it's Once Upon a Time that's been on for the last, 8 years. So, 7 years. So, I mean, they're going to make a huge deal out of it because they're losing a huge show for next season. I also, and this is a theory, I think ABC is going to lose a lot of viewers. So I could see them ending the season like normal and having a lot of holes where all of us go, are you kidding me? Like, really? We don't know who Gothel is. We don't know this. And I can see a lot of mini-series coming up. Oh gosh, there's a couple mini-series on right now. And when I say mini-series, I think they're technically TV movies, but they're done in 4 episodes and then they're done. I could see that happening. I think ABC is going to understand that they're going to lose a lot of viewers for their network. We're getting into the business side of this now, but I think they're going to lose a lot of viewers on ABC because ABC doesn't have a lot to offer after Once is gone. At least not for me. You watch How to Get Away with Murder, but that's going downhill real quick. So
that's for another podcast, which we already do.
I know. Who would have thought? So I mean, that's my partake on the series finale, because it will be a series finale, is that I really hope the series finale, even though it's there, is just a season finale and they clean it up. But I do have to say this. Do they ever clean anything up? They never do.
On this show? Probably not.
No. So again, hyping myself up that it's going to be a failure. I'm going to be upset.
Lower your expectations so that you can't be totally disappointed.
Yes. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. Yeah. That's what I've learned with Once Upon a Time. Oh. Life lesson there, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I have to ask, are you going to keep watching?
Yes.
Okay. That's good, because we're telling the people that we're coming back end of season with our 2-part miniseries, which ends all of our long runnings. So we'll have a 7B that we talk about, and then we'll do a looking back for the whole show and kind of
17 hours later.
Well, without rehashing too much. And I'm not going to ask you if you'd recommend the show right now, because as I said on our Prime recording, since we know we're near the end, we're just going to save that until the end. But because we're doing this funny little format based on the fact that we couldn't get together in a timely way this time, what with the whole equipment failures and whatnot, it's time for the Newlywed Hijinks. We're going to play a little version of the Newlywed Game. I'm going to ask you a series of 4 questions, and I'm going to ask Eddie a series of these same 4 questions. And we're going to see if you can guess each other's answers like the Newlywed Game would be. So there's 2 sets. The first set is, if you could be any of the current Once characters, who would you be? And then which character do you think Eddie would choose? That's set number 1.
Maybe we all are thinking the same thing. I think Eddie would be Regina. That just, I knew his answer before I could think of mine.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I think, Micah's 100% right. Eddie would definitely choose Regina.
Again, Eddie, Regina. I mean, that's the super easy answer.
I'm Regina all the way for him. Yeah, absolutely. He would definitely, he identifies and loves her so much.
And I'll throw out an answer. I cannot disagree with the Regina ascription for Eddie. I think that is unanimous. If you could be any of the current Once characters, who would you be?
The current ones. Oh God, this is hard. I'm gonna say, I want to say Tatiana, yes.
Tiana. So you'd be Princess Tiana?
Yes, I'd be Princess Tiana.
Okay. Not Regina?
No, I know, how weird, right? I know. Well, okay, so here's my thing. I wanted to say Regina, but you said current characters, so do you mean like just the new ones that we know, or just literally people in this season?
People in this season.
Regina.
Okay.
I'm kind of similar to Emily. I think I would either also be Regina, but I think in a twist, I think I'll also choose Drizella, just because she's so left field, and I don't think he'll ever guess that for me.
So now, how do you think the rest of us answered that question?
Oh my god. You're killing me. Oh gosh. So name the people and then I'll tell you who I think they are.
Kristen first.
Oh god, Kristen. I'm gonna say Kristen is Anastasia.
That you think that's what she said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Regina also, actually.
Amy?
Oh, Amy. She's a cute little lovely girl. I'm gonna say Gothel.
Okay, she said she was Gothel.
Yeah.
I'll go Hook.
Okay.
I think I'd like to be Wish Realm Hook.
Micah.
I'm gonna say Micah said Rumple.
And I think I might choose Regina too. Either her or Zelina. I'd be between the two.
Emily.
I wanna say Emily said Regina as well, but I think Emily said Ronnie. I'm pretty sure, so it's still Regina, but she really probably, she said the Ronnie character.
If I was going to be one of the current Once characters, I actually think that I would be Sabine because I really like beignets, and it seems like she makes really good beignets. Plus, she's sassy and has cute clothes as well. That's how I feel.
Oh my god, he's never gonna guess that.
No, he won't.
Ha ha ha. Twist! And me.
This isn't fair. I'm looking at you.
Would you like me to turn my camera off?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
You, gosh. I'm gonna say Alice.
Next set of questions. If you could have a happy ending with any of the current Once characters, so you're yourself, but you get to spend eternity happily with one of the current Once characters, who would it be?
Like in love or just period?
Whatever makes you happy, Eddie.
Oh, I'm gonna say Jack from Jack and the Bean.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yep.
Jack/Nick.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, here's the second set. Set number 2. If you could have a happy ending with any of the current Once characters, so you're yourself, but you get to spend your happy ending with one of the current Once characters, who would it be, and then which character do you think Eddie would choose?
I got this one. Hook and Hook.
I'm with Kristen, 100%. Hook and Hook.
See, I Hook for myself, but I think Eddie might actually pick Nick, the guy that is supposedly Lucy's dad. I think he might pick Nick because Nick's really hot.
I'm going to jump on the Hook train for Eddie. And see, I have trouble with questions like these because I just love to fall in love with all women on the shows I watch, all of them.
I get that.
I
fall in love with all the guys.
I want to say, since there is an age difference and I'm me, I can't go with Regina, who I've been diehard in love with since season 1. But I will say, I'll leave it to a toss-up between Sabine or Ivy, because I think there's good in her, and I think I might be able to get that out.
Michael likes
I'm romantic that way.
I believe it.
Micah, some people don't change, though.
But some people do. That's the whole point of a happy ending.
Most people go through their whole lives never knowing me, so it's a variable.
Also true.
So for my answer for this set, I'm going to completely jump on Emily's answer. I agree with that. It would be Hook for me, for sure, because I've been in love with him since he appeared on the show. Captain Guyliner, forever.
Day one.
Yes. But I do agree, since Merlin is not on the show, I think Nick would be the alternative for Eddie.
That from the past with the Merlin, yes. I think that was my first podcast.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, he's still talking about him. It doesn't matter if he's gone. He talks about him even when we're not talking on the Once Upon a Time podcast.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Never forget your first love.
Now, who do you think the others said?
Okay, I'm going to put you, Kristen, and Emily. I'm going to say all three of you at the same time. You guys all said Hook.
Okay.
I'm making you guys all in love. I'm giving you all, like, that's what I'm basing this off, and it's horrible. But I'm going to say Micah said Cinderella. Who do I have left?
Amy.
Amy said Rumple.
That's it. So, let me do this thing, and then we'll talk about that thing. And since we talked about all these things, I'm going to say this. CPU was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, and hails from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play. Give us stars, comments, reviews, and let us know how we're doing. What you like, what you don't, what you want to hear more of, what you want to hear less of. We can take it. You just got to tell us. Come to our website, couchpotatonite.wordpress.com. Send us an email at couchpotatonitepodcast@gmail.com, or contact us via Facebook and Twitter. And also, we're up on the Instas if you like to DM on the Instas. Of course, we had new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time, and we have several more new episodes coming down the pike. If you missed the old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, because we're everywhere, just find us. Search for us. We top Google searches under the words Couch Potatoes Unite. That is an achievement, my friends. And you can subscribe to our website, our channels, and our social media to stay up on anything we do. Until the next time our Once Upon a Time panel convenes. Seasons 1 through 6, if you have not somehow watched any of those and are listening to this, they're all available to stream on Netflix. All Season 7 episodes, currently, which have aired to date, are available on Hulu or at ABC's website and or app. And our Once panel will next reconvene following what is now the show's series finale for a 2-part mini-series in which we say goodbye to our long-running fantasy yarn with a detailed look at not only the 7th season second half, but we'll also do one of our looking back episodes to talk about the 7 seasons as a whole. So until next time we come around, until next time CPU airs an episode, new episodes are published every single Wednesday, mostly. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned!
Bye!